Cool.
Welcome. Okay, yeah. So we were, I don't do much computer science stuff anymore. I hated it. I hated coding. It was cool to figure it out, and I liked the math side of things. But I would go to office hours because I was a pretty good student. And computer scientists spend because sometimes when your code doesn't work, you don't know why. And you have to go to office hours and spend 6 hours in there trying to figure it out. It's why there's computer science has, I think, throughout a week, 40 hours of office hours because of it.
Really?
I'd be in office hours with people.
Did you code a lot?
Yeah, because I had a 3.7 GPA, so
nice, dude.
I kept it up. And I went, and CU has a top engineering school. And I was technically a Bachelor of Arts, but I was more in mathematics and computer science. They had overlap. I met people who would be like, I love to code. I'm like, I hate to code. They're like, why are you here?
Yeah. Wait, so what do you do now?
Now I'm technically I work at the state. I'm a temp employee.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So am I.
Yeah, well, what department do you work at?
I'm a firefighter.
Oh, fire. Okay, that's the sexy thing. I work in data entry in the boring place with.
But is it related to computer science at all, or not really?
Not really. I'm trying to transfer into a permanent position that is more related to data and stuff in computer science.
How do you get a temp position that's related to data entry? What do they need temporarily entered in?
A bunch of old death records. It's a lot of old war. This is vital records. People who keep birth and death certificates.
Really?
And government agencies. I've worked part-time and sometimes full-time for contracts in the state because my dad worked there, so he could sometimes get me positions because they always need stuff done, but they don't have the money to pay people. And so in my current position, I just process, I look at the physical record and put it in a computer. And people are like, couldn't AI do your job? Absolutely, but it's so much harder. State has so much regulation, as you know.
So wait, why can't AI do that job then if that's...
Because you have to go through layers for the state, because it's abiding, state has regulations according to just the law and then within the department. And I don't know how much that stuff costs. They don't, and it's also just, they've done it that way. But what usually those temp positions are for within state, because state tends to hire within. They're basically, my other temporary employee, she's a master's in environmental stuff, and I was computer science. We're overqualified.
She hot?
She has a boyfriend.
That's right.
Yeah, I told her about it. She knows.
That's
no,
funny.
She had two older brothers. We're really close, friends.
Nice.
And
don't date your coworkers. Anyway, it's not worth it.
And I met her boyfriend.
I dated my roommate one time.
How'd that end up?
Terrible.
How long did it last?
Too long. 6 months or something.
6 months?
Yeah. Well, we didn't start dating till being roommates for 3.
Oh, God.
So almost. So we only had 3 months left when we broke up on the lease.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What were you saying though? I want to talk about
that. No, with that state tends to hire within, so you get a job
cool.
there.
Oh yeah,
and I'm trying to transfer for math for them because they have a vital statistics program.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get a permanent position there because state you get off at 5 every day, and I can go to comedy then, and
nice,
that's good benefits.
You're thinking.
I'm thinking. Well, I didn't. I got out of school. Thinking. I applied for hundreds of positions. But computer science moves so fast, and they really want someone who can do all those things. And there was a bunch of layoffs. I had 2,000 people competing for a single job at certain points. So, and I wasn't I was a top student. I had top grades, but I didn't have that drive. That's what was annoying about college. They're always you'll find what you like. I started off as an art major. Went to engineering, went to electrical engineering, realized I couldn't do that, and then went to computer science. And eventually you have to choose something, and they assume you're going to find what you like, and I didn't.
Why couldn't you do electrical engineering?
The physics. So I didn't have physics in high school. I went through a weird high school. And so once I did higher levels of math, vector calculus, I got it, but it just was, I couldn't do it from the kind of physicsy way they taught it. And it still irks me, and I didn't like it.
Just wasn't for you.
Yeah, it just wasn't for me. Comedy was the first thing I was like, this is for me.
That's cool. Well, AI can probably do vector calculus. So
Yeah. Well,
you'd
no,
be
I
fucked
wanted to
either
be
way.
Iron Man, you know? I wanted to fucking...
Okay.
Yeah, you want to design
Man, I
cool
wonder how
robots.
close they are to making stuff like that. The military's got to be pretty...
Yeah, they probably have some stuff. I mean, the problem with Iron Man is the ring, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't exist.
That's not a real...
That's
Obviously, it's
the
a
amount
superhero.
of density of energy. That's like, you can't have energy that... Or, well, you can.
Yeah.
But it doesn't...
It would kill you if it was that close
It
to your
would burn
body,
through
or...
his suit.
Yeah. Unless you made like a certain type of metal. Is there a type of metal that could withstand that?
No, Neil deGrasse Tyson was asked this, I think, on Rogan. And
really?
He was asked, like, what do you think is a realistic superhero? And he's like, Batman. Batman's pretty realistic. Like, some of the stuff he has is realistic. Who's not? And he was like, Iron Man. Because the arc energy reactor...
Just burn a hole through
yeah,
your face.
yeah. But I'm not sure on the physics, but I know that energy generates heat.
Yeah, of course.
And if you're generating that much energy going through the atmosphere, like, we need rockets to go through the atmosphere, and Iron Man's just in his suit, like, no problem. So it's a cool idea, and probably like far off theoretically, it's technically possible, but.
But what if they have those elements, like, what is it, element 113 or whatever, where like it's a crazy thing that bends gravity and time and space.
Probably gives you cancer, though.
Yeah, maybe. Oh man, that'd be so cool. They got to figure out a way around it. There's some way, like, like Tesla had his whole. I don't know if you've ever really looked into that one as much, but Tesla had this thing where he was like, I've basically unlocked... I probably am wrong about this, but like... Because I just watched a couple YouTube videos about it, you know what I mean? But like, Tesla was like, we can have like free energy. Like, and it's... make it readily available to everyone. And it was that whole... that was kind of the reason why some people think like, oh, his projects were never finished, his work was never finished. They don't want, whoever they is, didn't want him to finish that because like energy's maybe the most lucrative commodity in the world. So
energy equals wealth.
So if you make it free for everybody, then nobody's, there's a giant market. It's like open sourcing. We were talking about open sourcing before we started this. It's like you just open source energy.
I know what you're talking about because I think Elon mentioned it.
Yeah.
It was basically where you would have, from what I understand, I don't know if it's particles in the atmosphere that would contain electric charges, so you could just charge with stuff in the atmosphere. But Elon pointed out that thank God he didn't do that. I don't know about the people controlling. There's probably a huge degree in that.
Yeah.
But he said on the physics or physical aspect of it, he was happy they didn't do that because if you had all those electromagnetic things in the atmosphere, I may probably getting those names wrong, you couldn't have Wi-Fi. Because they would fuck with Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi would have been... Like, if you put that in the atmosphere, no more Wi-Fi.
Interesting. That's all it takes, huh? Yeah, I'm curious now I'm curious the physics of Wi-Fi. And, man, you got some cool pictures on your desktop.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate... So that's Yellowstone. That's Mammoth.
That's Yellowstone?
Yeah.
I saw one of Long's Peak, if you climb Long's Peak, too.
Yeah, that's the most difficult hike I ever did.
Really?
That, if you see this little one right there, I took that out up at near Netherlands.
I believe it. Yeah,
it was super cool.
There's some beautiful spots around there.
Yeah,
like Brainerd Lake, or where were you at?
Oh, it was just kind of, how if you're going to the Peak to Peak Highway and you kind of come up out of Netherlands, it was like just as you're leaving, my brother and I pulled off to the road, and then I lived in Boulder, so like you see a ton of the Flatirons because those those never get old.
Yeah, never. No, there's another one right there. Yeah, that's cool. Man, dude.
Yeah, it was. I fell in love with outdoors in Boulder. That was a funny thing. I don't know. I think I told you, but I was addicted to video games really from like 5 to 20. Like severely. How addicted? Well, by the time I was 11, I was playing like the only thing I did. Some days I was...
Seriously?
Yeah, only thing I did. My parents forced me to go to martial arts. Nice. And they forced me to work when I turned 14. Like,
nice.
Other than that, that's all I did. Like, I'd blow off friends.
Dang.
It was so profound because at first it was like I was 5 and I got Pokemon and I was like that. But as I started to get into...
Dude, Pokemon's the gateway drug, dude. I got into Pokemon too.
I have to put that... I'm a stats nerd and Pokemon is entirely stats.
It's so cool.
It's so much fun. If you love math and numbers...
That's so funny. What did you play Pokemon? What did you play it on? GameCube or
everything?
What?
I mean, I started on my first game was Pokemon Ruby, and I played it on the DS, even though it was a Game Boy game. And then Pokemon Diamond was also my first.
How did you play it on the DS, even though it was a Game Boy game?
The original DSs had like a Game Boy cartridge; they were backwards compatible.
You know, dude, that's what I love about GameCube is they did that with. I had a GameCube game for what was it? And I could plug it into my Wii. It was one of those early Pokemon ones.
Was it XD?
Yeah.
Gale of Darkness?
Yeah. How did you know?
Because I
Holy
played the
shit,
game.
That's so funny. Dude, yeah, I tried I played that game. Man, if they had the ticker where I don't think they had the thing where they could keep track of how many hours you played every week, but I probably played that thing like 400 hours total. I loved that game.
Dude, I played 500 hours on just that game, and I did it on multiple games.
Wow.
Games are, I think they hook if you're a type of person who gets obsessed with like winning and stuff.
Yeah.
It hooked me. So Pokemon,
Yeah,
I lost friends because I would just destroy them. Like to me, I didn't like Pokemon based on how they looked. I'm like, I don't give a shit how you look. What are your stats? What are you good at doing?
Yeah.
And so I would, some people were like, let's battle. And I would just obliterate them. And sometimes I'd obliterate them with purposefully shitty Pokemon I caught and made fantastic.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
I remember there was a cute girl who was like, let's play. And I just destroyed her. And I was like, I had nothing, no concept of how to communicate with women. I got so obsessed with them. And when I got to college, I realized I slowly got out of it. And it took a long time, but
So that's how you kicked the addiction. That's what I'm curious about. How did you
kick? It wasn't like all at once. Like my first freshman year, which was 2017, I was up and that's when I realized how addicted I was. And over the course of the next year, because I started out at CU Denver, I went to Red Rocks, and then I went to CU Boulder. And when I got to CU Boulder when I was 20 is when it really started to become more of a healthy habit. Like I was going out and making friends and stuff. And then I think it just slowly, I started, when the pandemic hit, I got back into it. Xenoblade Chronicles, JRPG, played the shit out of that game.
Okay.
I mean, I have so many games I played through, and at that point, once I started to, actually, it was what really changed it is I had the first girl and only girl I fell in love with. It was going on for 6 months after she already said no. I was just, it was hard. I was still her friend. And eventually I was about to turn 21, and the month before I was like, fuck this. And I started working out more. And after that, it was just less and less. And eventually, like when Halo Infinite came out, I played for a month. I stopped going to Mike's doing comedy.
Really?
And I'm like, I have to sell it all. I can't play just a little bit.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I get too,
dude.
I absorbed. I can recite like the entirety of Halo Reach and Halo 3 storylines. Those games were so fucking good.
Dang, dude. Holy crap. That's crazy. But you just eventually were like, I can't do this anymore.
I can't. Yeah, now I don't. I tried to play. I really want to play the new Zelda game because that's probably my favorite. And I'll play Nintendo games. I can do a bit more because Nintendo games you can save and quit. They're usually story modes. It's those ones where there's other people. Like I used to play a lot of Destiny, Halo.
So you're an
Zelda.
Xbox.
Yeah, I was Xbox and Nintendo.
Okay.
I was never PS.
Okay, you never got into those.
No.
Oh. Is Rainbow Six Siege on Xbox or is that PlayStation?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Were you into that?
No. I had a couple friends who were. I never really got into games like that deep. It was more like, I guess I kind of stopped playing games when I was like a sophomore in high school, and I would just play. I don't know if you know, like the old NCAA football games, dude. I would just take like, I just like taking some like the worst team in D1, and then I would try to like build it in dynasty mode into like the next Alabama. That's what I had fun with. But yeah, I would just go to football. I would only play during the summers, but I just played way too much. Like I would spend like 8-9 hours a day playing.
There were some days where I'd play like 14 hours a day.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
I got upset. Like Zelda games, I used to like. The nice thing about video games is they've done some studies. They do kind of make you smarter, especially some games that...
I've heard that.
Especially games like Zelda games where there's a lot of puzzles and stuff. There's a lot of hard puzzles in Zelda. They make you think. And that like what got me, that like challenge. And I'm a super competitive person naturally. And the big thing was women. There's gamer girls now, but not when you're like obsessed. I felt like I wasted most of my childhood playing video games. In fact, I did. But you can either change, and now like I'm a person who does a lot of things. I punt, I do comedy because I didn't want to do a single thing.
Do jujitsu.
Yeah. I was
awesome.
training with Charlie this morning, and freaking.
Oh really?
He blocked. It was kind of incorrect block, but it was in the right position, and my freaking shin collided with his knee. Oh, it hurt so bad. There's a big fucking bruise on this leg.
Oh, dude. Where do you train?
He has like a gym, and we kind of like,
cool.
Sneak me in, kind of on the back gate and train. It's not like we're not doing.
What kind of gym is it?
It's like a Vasa gym.
Oh,
and there's like an
yeah, the Thornton one probably, huh?
Yeah, there's an outdoor area. I mean, we're not.
Yeah, I know that. I know that outdoor area too. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah,
that's cool. Nice, man. How long you been training him for?
Training, like done martial arts. I've done martial arts since I was 11.
Wow.
So I trained for I got my second degree under a guy, Young Sung Choi. It's like a form of like Korean kickboxing. I did that for 6 years, and then I was kind of in limbo for 3 or 4. He would kind of hit the bag and stuff, but not train. And then when the pandemic ended, I got back up training with Brian Scott and got into Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, and been doing that for 3 years.
Brian Scott. Why does that name sound familiar?
Because it sounds like Michael Scott.
Right. I thought. Well, I knew there was a famous Muay Thai kickboxer trainer here in Denver. I was wondering. I was curious. That's not him. That's not the same guy.
I mean, he's. There's a lot of. Probably not the one who's like well known, but he is I think he's a 3-time world champion in Muay Thai. Really? Yeah, he is super underrated. If anyone is at CU Boulder, go and take class with Brian Scott. He runs the Muay Thai, the boxing, and the jiu-jitsu classes.
At CU?
At CU. And he is people think it's a rec center guy, so it's just like, what does he know? You will not find a better rec center guy. He is the best martial artist I know, and I've met some of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world.
How much does it cost to train with him?
It's dirt cheap. It's like $75 a semester. Most jiu-jitsu gyms
What if you're not enrolled at CU?
$75 if you're not enrolled, 50 50 if you are.
Really?
It's
how many classes a night? Or how many classes per week, I mean?
He has 4 days a week. So for jiu-jitsu, so in the afternoon he has 4 jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. And then in the afternoon, like 1 and 2, he has boxing every day. And then I think there's a ton of classes now, and he's blowing up and he's also a 6-time world champion.
No, he's blowing up now?
In well, at least within the university, not in the community.
Okay, good.
He's a 6-time world, I'm pretty sure 6-time world champion in Filipino stick and knife fighting too.
What?
Yeah. You will not find a more diverse guy who knows his shit. I've gotten to meet Bob Bass. Most people don't know. Bob Bass was this California guy, and he was the first American to get his black belt in jiu-jitsu. And he is responsible for the jiu-jitsu existing in America. Because all the Machados were going to go back to Brazil, and he convinced them to stay.
Really?
Yeah. He's a reason Joe Rogan has his black belt.
Whoa.
Because Jean-Jacques Machado is... So I'm a hit... There's like 5 Machado brothers. But Jean-Jacques Machado trained Eddie Bravo, and Jean-Jacques also trained Joe Rogan.
No way.
And Higgin is his brother, and I'm from the Higgin line. But he showed me pictures with all the Gracies,
That's cool.
like Hodger Gracie, all these huge people.
Whoa.
And like I remember I was taking a piss next to him at a urinal. The most chill guy too. You wouldn't think he's also a little guy. He's like 5'2".
That's how you found out he was chill.
He's also a D1 he's now in his 60s, but he was a D1 wrestler.
Wow.
And knows his
This is Brian Scott, which I was talking about.
No, this was the Bob Bass, who trained him in jiu-jitsu.
Okay, Bob Bass trained Brian Scott.
Yeah,
okay,
and I met Brian Scott.
Okay.
I've met... Brian Scott is kind of this... He's Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, all these guys. And he does a little bit of everything, but each guy is kind of one guy you learn from, and I've gotten to know them. Which has been kind of cool to be like, holy shit, this is...
Yeah.
These guys. And I love it. I can talk about martial arts all day. I love training it.
That's awesome.
It's super cool. It's getting big now. Girls are getting more into it, which is cool. That's a nice thing. It's hard though. Like, It's just a bunch of... I do things with dudes. Like, I was a computer science and math major.
Yeah.
I do stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I fight, and I hunt.
Maybe you should get a second degree in psychology.
I'm not going back to school.
Oh, man. You could start going to art classes. You know, I actually I did oh, man. I did a stained glass art class, and it was all ladies in the class, and I made some cool stained glass art for my
Dude,
parents.
that's fucking sick.
So I have a girlfriend, so I didn't pursue anybody in there, but like, yeah, dude, you do some art classes, do some yoga classes.
I did go to yoga classes.
Okay.
It's so hard now because I have so many things I like to do, which is a good thing.
It's a good problem to have. Better than playing video games.
Yeah, better than playing video games. But they're so much fun. The reason you can't do them is they're so much fun. If you get hooked on them, yeah, there's nothing.
Dude, they're like social media. They're designed for the optimal dopamine hit in your brain, dude.
And some people have
neural pathway.
I think it's what makes me good at. It's why I like do hard things. I fucking hate to lose, and even if I lose, I'll keep on losing till I win.
Mm-hmm.
And so games give you that like hit. And I love stories. I usually didn't play games that didn't have a story. I love story. Like I loved Halo because of that. Zelda had stories. That was always really fun.
Huh. That makes me wonder now, like, maybe that's what I loved about playing NCAA is the worst team because it's a good story to, like, build
probably.
them. It's not fun to start out as Bama because you're already winning.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Huh.
God.
That's funny you like the stories. I wonder... I'm trying to think what other games had pretty good stories. Obviously, Pokemon had a good story.
Yeah, it had a good story.
And it also had all, like, the mathematical, like, ooh, how do I make the best team, like... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how do I make like the perfect combination of,
it's war. It's a war thing. Like if I do this, then this, and then it comes together in some unification process. Yeah. That's why JRPGs were my kryptonite. Do you know what JRPG is?
Mm-mm.
So it's just stands for Japanese RPG. My favorite Xenoblade Chronicle had 14 hours of cutscenes.
What is 14 hours of cut. Oh, like there's a movie as part of the game.
14, and that's just the cutscenes. And the game, like, it's huge. There's literally thousands of side quests. And I did them all twice.
That's hilarious.
Japan makes the epitome of these like high complex systems that are actually tough to figure out. Mm-hmm. But once you do, oh my god, there's like enemies in the game that they're called super bosses after the game, and they're like 25 levels higher than the maximum level. And you have to figure out how to beat them. And
that's interesting.
Figuring that out and building your team together.
So you were into Japanese games.
I was. That, and then I was really addicted to anime too.
Okay. So this to me, with my background in psychology, there's this thing I studied in Japanese culture. It's prevalent in men in Japanese culture. And I wonder now, after talking with you about this, if it's a product more of their media that they create in the video games. I think it's called Ichidori or something like that. It's this syndrome where men get really addicted to it's not necessarily they get addicted first, but they're like, they don't want to go outside and socialize with others. And it's very common in Japanese culture amongst the men in their culture. And they're typically very addicted to like some form of media, like video games or like anime. And I wonder if that's that design of that media is maybe what's causing. I don't know. It sounds
causing I think it's a symptom because I know what you're talking about. They talk about it in anime.
I don't know if it's called Ichidori or something. I can't remember what it's called.
Here I won't actually because
it's a Japanese.
Ichi is one.
Yeah, it's like by yourself. It's like, I think the translation is what it means in English.
Yeah, I'm gonna just...
It's like you like to be one by yourself.
So the most visited website for me is Jisho, which means dictionary in Japanese. It's my Japanese dictionary. Chidori, position taking. Yeah, it's...
If you just look up Japanese, what's the Japanese male loneliness, I bet you'll find it. Let's see. Japanese male loneliness. Alright, let's see what we get here. It's called, if it loads, I don't have service.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Let me. You said Japanese male loneliness?
Mm-hmm.
Male.
Let's see. Screw it. Now I'm just seriously.
Hikikomori?
Yeah, that's what it's called. Wow, I can't believe I.
Hikikomori.
Yeah, yeah.
Hikikomori.
I totally didn't remember what that was.
No, that's actually, I don't even know that word. I want to see. I think it probably translates to someone. Hikikomori.
Yeah, it's like it's really
Shut in. Yeah, hikikomori means shut in.
Shut in.
Yeah, there's an anime about it. About like sometimes they call them not employed in training.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a big problem over there, and games are part of it. I think games. I don't know if they're if you got rid of the games, I don't think it would solve the problem. I think it's a symptom of when men get behind in culture. There's not really a thing to bring them up, and with women, like if a woman gets behind, it's me. Like I've been going out with Charlie trying to talk to women. That's what happened in me in college because I lived in an international dorm. I lost all my friends because they all had to go home. And like when you're a senior and you're in computer science, math, and Japanese, by the time like the pandemic ended, all I did was doing homework. By the end of my middle of my sophomore year, I was doing 14 hours of homework a day. That was super normal.
What?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I worked really hard because I was doing mathematics, Japanese, and computer science.
Did you learn Japanese pretty well?
I can speak it.
Whoa.
I'm not fluent, but I can.
Have you gone to Japan?
Yeah.
How many times?
Once. I went. I was gonna go I was actually gonna go my last year in college, but COVID killed that. I was so pissed because I couldn't. I was gonna go and do an internship over there, and now if you want to go over there, you have to go and teach for like 6 months, and then bye-bye to my comedy career. Yeah. So I'm planning to go next year.
Not necessarily, though, because there is a city in Japan, I've heard, that's like pretty famous and well-known for comedy.
Yes, but in these Japanese programs it's called JET, the Japanese English Teaching Program, whatever, they don't put you in cities. They specifically are able to do this program because they put you in rural towns in the middle of nowhere, Japan, because they want you. I know. Trust me. I have looked at every angle. So I'm probably going to go next year for 3 weeks to just... Cool. One of my best friends, she's Japanese.
Yeah, find yourself a nice Japanese girl.
I know. She's lesbian, but...
That's all right. Oh, yeah, well... Not her. There's a lot of...
I did. I went on a date recently in February with a Japanese chick I met at a conversation hour.
Really?
We just were not attracted to one another.
What's a conversation hour?
It's like the Kaiwa Club, which is literally translates to conversation hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it a way to just meet people? Is it like speed dating? Or what is
No, it's a way to talk to people who are also learning Japanese.
Oh, cool.
Honestly, she's the only girl there that I'd want to date. The rest are either old Japanese women or dudes.
Oh, okay.
But I saw her and I actually talked to her.
Get yourself a cougar.
She was like one of the first person I was able to try to get a date with outside of from that. And it was weird. We went on a first date. It was fun. And second date, it was like a nice restaurant. And I ended it and I said, thank you. She's like, I'm not interested romantically. And I was like, thank God. Me neither. Because it ended and I'm like, what is here? She was a huge introvert. Just didn't connect. But I have a thing for Asians.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
After you like Japanese, you like a lot of aspects of Japanese.
They're hard,
culture.
and Japanese women are like the epitome of not easy. Around the world, I learned from a lot of my international friends. American women are easy.
Really?
Around the world, Japanese women, no. Like you're not. I mean, there's a lot of Japanese women, so you can find exceptions. But for the broad majority, trying to get like a Japanese woman to just sleep with you randomly, if she's full on Japanese, good fucking luck.
Really? Oh yeah, because it's all about honor and
it's in their culture to have respect. They don't tend to sleep around all that much. It's weird because people think they're very sex oriented, but they're also very isolated too. Like if you don't speak the language, you're not going to be able to pull a Japanese chick, maybe unless you're Brad Pitt.
Really?
They don't speak English over there unless you speak some English. It's a huge. In fact,
They don't speak any English?
I mean, most people don't.
Whoa,
No.
I didn't realize
It's
that.
so hard, dude. It took me 5 years to have basic conversation in Japanese. It's such a hard language, and the same is true for vice versa. And what do they have? Like, if you learn English there, what do you have? I mean, what do you have to gain in Japan? Everyone speaks Japanese.
Yeah, I guess when their economy's good enough, it doesn't matter, huh?
Yeah, it's
Because a lot
actually
of places learn English because, like, you know, they need to. Like, when I went to South America, I was shocked. I know Spanish pretty well, but I was shocked by how many people just spoke English and prefer to speak English to you, especially once they know you're American. It's like, no, let's roll out the red carpet for the American. We want all of his money. That's what it's like, too.
Yeah, I bet. I don't doubt it.
Japan's not like that, huh?
No, Japan is the most pure culture in the world. Like,
Really?
98%+ of Japanese people are ethnically Japanese.
Wow.
They're an island nation.
Do they like to keep it that way?
Yes.
I remember learning some Japanese history at one point, and they had a full-on isolationist country for like 200 years. They have some of the coolest art.
Are you watching Shogun? The new
what's
series.
that?
It's basically Japanese Game of Thrones, but it's based on historical reality.
Okay.
Tokugawa Ieyasu shut them off for 250 years from 1600 something to like 1854.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
the art is so cool because I don't know about anything else, but I just
they
remember
killed
the
a bunch of Christians, the worst persecution of Christians in history.
Really?
But, oh yeah.
Jeez.
They would lower them into like pits of shit and piss with cuts so they'd get infected, and they said, we'll let you out if you disown your beliefs.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was psychotic.
Jeez.
And if you came to Japan, they'd kill you, and if you left Japan and came back, they'd kill you.
Whoa.
Yeah, that was their policy. And they were and that was actually the age of samurai, or this Sengoku Jidai, which is the warring period. That was the epitome of it. And then it closed off for 200 years. They made cool art.
Have you ever read The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi? Oh, you got it right there? Yeah, there you go, dude. That made me think of it immediately. I read that book a couple weeks ago.
It's very interesting. It's very Japanese the way it's written.
It's very dry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more of an instruction manual, like a military instruction manual than a...
Yeah, as I was reading it, I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be something else. Because I've seen it recommended so many times by, like practitioners of martial arts or artists. Joe Rogan talks about it a lot on his podcast. He loves that book.
It is pretty dry. Especially if you don't study martial arts, you're going to be bored with it. It's. I mean, the guy was a fucking samurai who killed people with wooden sticks.
Yeah. That's the part of the book I found most interesting. He like talked about how he didn't use a sword sometimes.
He would just use his wooden.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is I really love the Tao Te Ching, which I believe is a product of China, not Japan.
Is that the book? Is that the
the Book of the Way is what it translates to.
Okay, the Book of the Way. Yeah, that's not Japanese.
And yeah, I believe Lao Tzu wrote it.
Oh, okay. So it's not Art of War, but it's
it's a different.
because he left to.
And the Tao Te Ching actually there's a verse, I can't remember which verse, where it talks about only doing what's necessary, and there's like a little parable. It's not part of the Tao Te Ching that's based on that verse, where it talks about this wanderer who disavowed like using his sword. He was like a famous samurai, and people like tried to look for him all over, and he would just use whatever was around because he was too dangerous with the sword. So he'd use a wooden stick or like the equivalent of like an umbrella or something like that, and then he would only use the sword when needed. But I guess for the rest of his life, he never picked up the sword again because he never needed to use the sword again.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cool warriors.
They're so cool.
They're so cool. They're so cool. That's why I did martial arts originally. I have a joke about it where I thought like women would think I was like strong and sexy, could fight. Does not help at all.
Not now. No.
I like to do it, so I didn't do it because of that. But I always thought I tried to understand women and what they would like. But I'm a more masculine guy, so sometimes that is annoying. And unless you're
it's not annoying.
Well, I mean, it is annoying when you're like, why?
If you're too logical, it's annoying.
Yeah, I'm a very, very logical. I was a fucking math major, dude.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, there's nothing wrong with like, be who you are, but at the same time, like you don't have to pander, but also,
When did you start? You said did you start to like? Because you seem very relaxed when you talk to women. Did you start to do that in high school?
Yeah,
a little bit.
I was really socially awkward, and when I was 14, I would love to talk to women and make them laugh. I thought it was super fun, and I just had just a lot of like my desire for being approved by them was so great that I ended up like you can feel that when like somebody just wants your approval. They need it because that validates me. And ultimately, a relationship between a man and a woman, any romantic relationship, even if it's a man or a woman, whatever. Anytime it's a romantic relationship, if one person is like too invested in getting the other person's approval, not even, it just gets super unbalanced super quick. And that's just how I was my entire childhood because, I mean, yeah, not to like make it a pity party, but it's just like my mom just wasn't there for me. And that makes you as a kid just want.
This is a mental illness party. Pity party isn't in our.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to like force you to say anything, but it does make sense. You. Like go ahead. I don't want to say about it, but about your mom. But
no, but I mean that's just what it was. Like I think that's a stem of it for a lot of men and women. Like my girlfriend and I. It's funny we were talking about this yesterday. Like, my girlfriend gets really annoyed by these kind of girls. She calls them pick-me girls. I don't know if you know what that is.
Explain. Okay,
so just a pick-me girl is like the kind of girl who's like does a lot like extra to get like guys' attention. But she sees it from a mile away 'cause she's like, oh, she's clearly doing like, for example, this girl at the gym yesterday. We went to the gym together yesterday. We usually don't, but we're going to my little brother's game after. And so we go to the gym together. There was this girl there who's working out right next to me. And then she noticed her, obviously, because she was pretty hot. But she was like, my girlfriend was like, look at the way she's walking. And it's the way she's walking was like to like push her butt out a little bit more. She's like, nobody walks like that. It's a pick-me girl. Or like she'll like dance during, like between her sets. It's like, who does that at the gym? Like she's like, that's a pick-me girl. She wants you to pick her. Like, and so that's something where as a guy, I guess but to get to the point quicker, I always liked that kind of girl because like a guy with mommy issues loves a girl with daddy issues, of course. It's like a perfect combination.
A match made in hell.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, a match made in hell. Perfect, dude. But yeah, that was like when I first started dating women, I would always go after those girls, but they just wanted my attention, and I just wanted their attention, but they would just not give it to me. And it bugged the hell out of me. I mean, it drove me nuts. I would get so mad. I was only like, and so this happened probably from the age of like 13 until I was like 16. But somewhere in the middle there, I started getting really into like, all right, I clearly am doing something wrong because this happens every single time. All my friends have girlfriends, and they're all hot, and I tried the route of just being the cool, popular guy who's like good at football. And I did that, but then I tore my ACL. So then I wasn't the cool guy on the football team anymore because I couldn't play football. So I literally just had to learn social skills straight up. And when I first started, it's funny, I watched these videos from this guy who's like a dating coach. Charlie knows him. And I got super
What's
into
his name?
that. His name's Owen Cook.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And, I really liked his stuff. It resonated me when I was that young. I only stumbled upon it because I was into this guy, Elliot Holtz, and he had played the video on his channel with this Owen Cook guy. They like made like a tandem video. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then from there, I just got super into like pickup is basically the best way to call it. It's not just like feeding people lines though. It's like it literally ended up turning into like changing who you are fundamentally as a person.
It's not as weird and creepy as like some sitcoms have you believe. It's actually,
Yeah,
it's been interesting being a part of it.
yeah,
I mean, what was it for you? Because I came at it from a different. It's so interesting. You kind of had from what I'm understanding is cool guy. Okay, learning how to be myself and still be cool with women. Is that
yeah.
right?
Well, I think really all it really came down to at the end of the day, like you could learn all the strategies, all the techniques, everything you want in the world, when it comes to that stuff. But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to that I learned is you just got to be cool with who you are and just accept it. And the second you stop looking for other people's approval and like looking at them with like, please like me, I hope you like me, I hope I'm good enough for you. Once you switch the frame of like, I just looked at who I was as a person and what I had turned myself into. And I was like, well, actually, it's the other way around. Do I like you? Are you good enough for me? And you don't have to be a dick about it, but it's just like, it's stopping that cycle of like, even now I still feel it a little bit when you see like somebody who's just like a 10 out of 10, most beautiful person ever. You see them and you're like, man, I hope that person would like me for no other reason other than that they're attractive. Maybe they have nothing else as a person to offer, but like there's still that instinct of like, oh, I hope that person will like me if I talk to them. And yeah, it's weird because I started down that path as like a boy. I was basically still a boy. I was like 13 or 14. I can't remember the exact
that's
age.
early. Yeah.
Yeah, and it formed a lot of unhealthy habits too, I would say, because for a while there, I just like my goal wasn't to have like healthy relationship. My goal was to have sex with as many people that were hot as possible because it was still like filling that hole. Like I wanted to feel like I was good enough. You know what I mean? Like that's all it was. Like, and that's the thing with like being good at anything. Like maybe that's why I wanted to be good at comedy at first because like I wanted to feel like I was good enough, and if I can make a room full of people laugh, then I'm good enough. If I can kill an elk, well, then maybe I'm good enough. If I can do a lot of great things that are really hard to do, then maybe I'll be good enough for somebody, and maybe even myself, or the fill in the gap of like, well, my mom didn't love me as a kid. Maybe if I do all these things, I'll be good enough to. And you know what? It's never gonna. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't. You have to just like, and even if you do accept it, and be like, okay, well, obviously doing all these things isn't gonna close that gap. There comes a point where you just have to say, fuck it, I know this probably isn't gonna go away, this feeling, but I'm just gonna live my life anyway. And then what you realize is slowly over time, it just kind of goes away. It's like it's like snakes shedding its skin. It's like you just go on to the next evolution of life. And that's what you have to do. Like you just have to let things go. And it's a long process. I'm still letting it go. But that's what I learned from it. It seems like a really shallow endeavor at first, picking up chicks. But it ended up becoming this thing where it was actually this really deep change that occurred. This identity level change of like who I am as a person. Yeah, I'm still like the silly, goofy, weird guy. I'm still that guy. But now I'm just like, yeah, I'm that guy. And if you don't like me for that, that's okay.
No, that's so interesting. That path you just laid out, because I got to very similar places in a very different manner.
Interesting.
Very different manner.
Tell me.
So I went to I went to a high school that's just 10 blocks from here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a K through 12 school. There were 550 kids. My graduating class was 30.
Whoa.
Very small.
Yeah.
and there were a lot of LGBTQ members because it was kind of like this hippie alternative high school.
Okay.
So in high school there were
Was
like
it
5.
expeditionary?
It's do you know like what a Montessori school is?
Yeah.
It's very similar to a Montessori school.
Nice.
And
Nice.
it worked for me.
That's cool.
I think I'm doing a podcast entirely on this school and how great it was.
Oh, that's awesome.
I would have not graduated high school without this school.
Oh,
But
that's amazing.
yeah, I learned how to be social. Oh, that's a different story. But in terms of women, there were 5 straight women, and if you broke up with one of them, you'd see them every day. And I was so focused on trying to just have normal social skills because I was bad. Like I was addicted to video games, but at least my school setting and I was going to martial arts and I was forced to work were like pushing me enough in a right direction. They were counterbalancing. And so dating was not a concern for me in high school. I just kind of threw it out of the way. I was like, I'll just wait. So I got to college and I kind of had to bounce around before I found CU. And I started to have more interactions with women. I kind of had my first real heartbreak with this girl I worked with a lot. And it was a lot of similar stuff to you in that situations, wanting approval through them, not really knowing what you're doing. You're just attracted to this person, wanting to talk to them. And then I had a couple relationship experiences. They were nothing like profound or awful. But what was hard is I was making progress with that. And then COVID hit. And I lost all my friends. So for a year and like I said, by the time COVID was over, I was only doing homework. But in all that time, which was COVID, like I nearly killed myself at a lot of times. It was very, very, very hard because I have bipolar, and I should probably preface that. When you have a severe mental illness like bipolar and you're a guy, like when I get angry, I like break shit. I get really angry. All my I call it the emotional dial. Everyone has a dial of emotions. Everyone's at like a 3. Mine are all like at an 8. And so that can be really hard, especially if you don't have any help with it, to be in a relationship with anyone.
Yeah, I bet.
So I was lucky because I've been in therapy for 20 years with the same psychiatrist. So I've worked a lot at that time. But over COVID, I was like, I am going through these awful depressions. I can't even think about anyone else. I got to do school, and so it was kind of on my mind, but it wasn't really there. And I started to get out of college, and I was doing comedy, and I realized I didn't know how to approach women, how to talk to women all that well. I was so used to using apps and stuff, even though I fucking hated them like everybody else. And eventually I met Charlie like 6 months ago, and I was like, if you show me how to talk to women, I'll show you how to fight. And that kind of started. And as we started to go out, all this time I was working on myself. Taylor Tomlinson has a new special, and she talks about working on yourself. I've worked on myself forever. I started with social skills that were shit compared to everybody else's. But I just continued to work on mine. And before I knew it, when I came out in this place, especially because I have a ton of female friends. My Japanese teacher, she's gay. I'm friends with all of her friends. I have a very bossy older sister, and I have 2 great parents. That's a very healthy relationship with both of my parents, and I got both from all of them. And I have a very overbearing, older sister, very bossy. So I'm used to dealing with very strong women. And I realized I would go out and I'd talk on these dates I'd go on. I'm not interested in you. And it's because I worked on myself. I didn't think about that. But I found out who I was through a lot of things, through all the experience of COVID, through a lot of psychedelics. And I was pretty comfortable with who I was. I kind of even went through in college like a little bit of a gay phase. Like didn't ever sleep with anyone, but just kind of asked myself questions.
Yeah.
And so I got comfortable with who I was. And I'm kind of a quirky guy. I talk a lot. I have a lot of energy compared to most people. And that is something I've learned to, you have to moderate. But when I go in terms of interpersonal relationships, I identify things. Some of my friends come to me and I'll help them work out stuff through relationships. Because when you've gone to therapy for 20 years, you catch that type of shit. And I also noticed that some women don't like it when you know that stuff because they can't pull their own shit. And it's not even a bad way. It's just some women play games in relationships, and I'm not a drama person. I don't play games, mainly because I've been betrayed by several close female friends. I can't play that game the way women kind of, mess with you. And after that happened to me, I was like, if you play those games, unless it's a very serious relationship, I'm done because I can't play those games. And I realized I was going into relationships with more confident in who I was, and so it was removing more women than it was actually putting in. But it was actually removing women And it didn't end badly. I just, we ended the date, didn't see each other again. Mm-hmm. Didn't end in a bad place, though. But it's hard when you're not getting laid. I was never a person who, for the longest time, I wouldn't even try to sleep with women on the first date because it just was so... I'm very uncomfortable being very vulnerable with people at like an intimate degree because I have my own emotions. And so that's actually something I'm working on. But it's interesting how when you work on yourself, you actually filter through people you don't want in your life pretty quickly. And I'm a very upfront person. Like, you pretty much see what you get.
Yeah.
And that does put some people off. Like, I've had some women, because I won't disown Matt Rife, like, just not want to talk to me. And my argument's like, hey, I'm a comic. I'm going to defend a comic's right to say what they want to say. If you're okay, you can disapprove of it all you want. I'm fine with that, but I can have my own opinion. I had women walk out because of that, which I'm like, okay, we won't get, wish you the best.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get along.
Yeah, that's the hard thing about dating now, too, is like, the dating pool is not great.
How'd you meet your current girlfriend?
Swing dancing.
That's actually a pretty good one.
Yeah. If you learn how to swing dance, take a couple lessons at the Grizzly Rose. That's not what I did. I just had a friend teach me a bunch of stuff, and then I would go dance with girls, and I'd teach myself stuff on YouTube, and then I'd go out and practice it, and I met her through that. I actually met a lot of women through swing dancing. I stopped going to that bar in Fort Collins because during college because there was too many of them there that I knew. and they would
Did you go to CSU?
Yeah, I went to CSU.
Okay, that makes sense. I would see you.
Yeah. Swing dancing, but I never met anybody through an app, which is surprising because it was, probably the way to meet people during COVID. But no, I met... Oh, and I worked at a couple of different restaurants and bars during college too. I met some people through that. It's easy when you're working in those kind of settings. You just meet a lot of people and it gets easy to... Yeah, but my current girlfriend, met her just out one night, and there's like a bunch of guys talking to her. It was pretty funny. They were trying. She's pretty shy. And then I just went right up to her, and I gave her my Snapchat at the time. It's pretty funny. And then I was playing football, like flag football in college, and I tore my hamstring like a week later. And what happened? I think she reached out to me because one of my buddies on the team knew her. He was like in her like wildlife biology classes, and he was like, "Hey," or she was like, "Hey, heard you can't like come dance this week because you tore your hamstring. I hope you're okay." I was like, "Oh, that's nice of her. That was nice of her to like reach out." And then pretty much just started. Where did it go from there? I just took her on a bunch of dates. Cooked her dinner a couple times.
That helps.
We hooked up a bunch, and then I was like, I'm gonna go do firefighting this year. I don't want to, get attached to anybody. She was like the same. So we were just like kind of fucking around for a couple months. And then eventually, I remember one night in particular, she like looked at me and she was like, "I really like you." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." She was like, "I'm scared you don't like me the same way." And I was like, "Oh." Dang. I was like, "Dang, well, I guess we've come to a fork in the road." So then I really thought about it the next couple weeks after that, about if I wanted to keep her in my life in the long run. And I kind of just gave her, I kind of just... I don't want to say I tested her, but I definitely tested her, like to see like if she was good girlfriend material, because I just had so many bad relationships.
No, that's you have to test. Girls do it all the time too.
Yeah, it's like instinctual to them.
I think it's more
right away.
It is. It's part of.
They know if they like you immediately or not.
And it's part of why I give my upfront personality on first dates is because I can be a bit of an asshole, and that mainly comes from self-defense because I was bullied a lot, and one reason I never had like a really chronic bad bullying problem is people would say mean things and it would hurt, but I'm a bit of a mean fucker. My mom has 10 siblings,
Oh, wow.
And all of that, it's the Bowdens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you know who Bobby Bowden is?
Mm-mm.
He's like a super legendary football coach. Won some of the most games
Around here?
No, from Florida State.
Oh, cool.
Like huge. Mark Bowden. Do you know Black Hawk Down?
The movie?
Yeah, it's based on a book that my cousin wrote. Mark Bowden. Yeah,
Wow.
the Bowdens are kind of this famous family,
Wow.
and it's my mom's maiden name.
Oh, wow.
And they have all her brothers have a bit of, and her sisters too, and my mom too, a meanness to them because there's 11 kids. There's shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing. One of the girl who I said I did fall in love with, who ended up good friends. She gave me that, and she said she gave me the most accurate advice about feedback I got, which was, you are really, really mean sometimes, and you don't even know it. Because I'm very, very honest. I've noticed this with women. I have to because with me, I'm 100% honest no matter what happens, because I've been psychotic. And when you're psychotic, you don't know what is reality. So with women, sometimes I'm too blunt. And I realize I've had to, I even ask women, a common one is when women would ask me how they'd look, I would tell them what I thought. And, well, then they get mad. Do I look good in this? And I realized I had to reframe the question, because they're not asking you, do I look good in this outfit? What they're asking you is, I am trying something new with this outfit. Do you support me in what I'm trying? And that's why they always want a yes. Once I was able to, like I said, I'm very logical, so I have to go these weird logic routes to understand women. But it does allow a filter for are we going to work well together? And it is. I've never really had a serious girlfriend, and it is an insecurity of mine. But at the same time, I'm horrified of. I don't like to sleep around a lot because I'm horrified of getting a girl pregnant. Because if they're pregnant, they have a third of a chance of having bipolar, and if a kid does not have a dad with bipolar, I'd have to either tell her to get an abortion, which I don't feel comfortable doing, or that's my life. And so it's such a I'm actually kind of open up to a point, but when it comes recently, Charlie, when you're going out with someone, you're trying to be intimate, I really struggled to go into physical contact, because to not go into too much detail, on a school trip, I was accused of being a school shooter.
Oh, jeez.
And I kind of said something in a misinterpreted way that was kind of off-couth, but, and I'll own that. It was on me. But I wasn't the whole trip, I was very cool. I was not at all. But that really caused a ton of, shit that came up in, when I did a bunch of mushrooms. I saw that part of me, come out, and it was really tough to deal with. And that made me so, especially someone who knows how to fight, being close with women, that was something I don't feel comfortable, partly because lack of experience, but also just, and those are types of things that it's awesome. I have friends like Charlie to push me, and you just got to get used to. And it's weird coming at it from this perspective of, I'm not your typical guy. I talk a lot, and I'm smart. How do you balance adjusting your behavior appropriately, but also being yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question.
And I think you just figure out through doing with it, and I'm getting better at it. I move too much. I have ADHD and bipolar, so they kind of jitter on top of each other.
Yeah.
But,
I also have ADHD.
Yeah.
But I don't move anymore.
How'd you do that? What was your secret?
Do you know who Gary Brecka is?
Sounds familiar.
All right, Gary Brecka is one of them. He had this podcast, and he talks about this thing called the MTFER gene. It's called the motherfucker gene, is what it's basically called. And it's methyl something, I forget, I don't know the exact biochemistry of it, but basically it had something to do with stuff you're eating, and chemical imbalances in your brain. And I eat I'm very strict with what I eat, and just very careful to not put too much sugar in my body, and just eat a lot of meat and superfoods. I supplement like crazy. I take like too many supplements. Probably,
Dude,
I probably spend over $1,000 a year on supplements. It's ridiculous.
$1,000 a year on supplements, dude. I supplement a ton too. I buy fucking fish oil. I'm a health nut like you. Yeah, nice. And I eat pretty clean too. I'm gonna say I try to eat only meat, fruit, vegetables.
It's tough. I mean, I think that I can't remember what exactly he said about that gene specifically, but there was something. The thing is, I learn these things and then I adjust my diet accordingly, and then I forget it because I'm like, okay, the problem's fixed now, and I forget why I do some of the things I do. I have to look it up exactly what it was that I added that helped, but yeah, I still jump around a lot. Like my thoughts, like I'm sure this conversation, if you go back and look at it, it's like, oh, we're talking about this thing this minute. Oh,
it's why it works, something else. I'm the same fucking way.
Yeah. But yeah, I wish I could say exactly what it was that changed it. But yeah, I'll show you after this. I'll look it up, the MTFER gene, and I'll send you the exact podcast because I remember listening to it not too long ago. Just like a refresher. Yeah, Gary Brecka. Guy's awesome.
I think I've heard of him before.
He went on Rogan.
Okay, that's probably why.
Back in November.
Yeah, I probably saw that. Yeah, I'm pretty good with my diet, and part of it's just because ADHD makes you have more energy than usual, and then bipolar also does the same thing.
Yeah, that's tough. I don't have bipolar, so I'm sure it's more difficult.
Part of it is I also have to I'm a person who does move, and you can do things to be disciplined to help restrain it. I'm already like I began to get healthy in COVID because I'm like, well, why not do it now?
Good time.
Yeah.
Makes
and
sense.
I feel great. I work out every day. That's probably actually the most useful thing. And it's hard because it's why bipolar is such, like, technically if you have bipolar, you can get on disability and you can live off disability.
Really?
It's just severe. Like, there's 2 severe mental illnesses, and they're bipolar and schizophrenia.
Wow.
And bipolars, if you take care of yourself, can have normal lives, which is, thank God. But it has a lot of things. It's why, like, half of my podcasts when I'm doing them solo are just talking about bipolar. But there's also, if you went back in time, there's probably a lot of amazing people who had bipolar. Abraham Lincoln may have been one of them that didn't really exist now, but they think possibly. I mean, they don't know. But it's mainly genetic too, so it's passed down. So my mom has it and I have it. It's weird, and I'm kind of a person where I never lie because I'm bad at it, number one. And so, but that doesn't, like, I'll tell white lies, like white lies that don't matter. And so when I had to learn, especially talking to women, I don't bring up bipolar unless they ask. That, do you have this? I'll say it, because when women hear I have a joke about it. If you're a woman and you have bipolar, you're hot for 4 months before you're crazy. Because I think it's more of a men thing than a woman thing in that case, because men are more willing. But when you have like I can do crazy eyes at any time. When you have that and you can tell something's off, it's been a journey trying to go up to women to just sit still, relax, be chill, have conversation. Yeah. And not, I mean, there's always you have 2 voices in your head. I literally have a voice that just screams loser at me. It's like the fucking Gollum version of myself.
Really?
Just always. And
you can't quiet it.
No, you can't. And then you have another voice that tells you you're a god. It's just you go back and forth, yeah. And
there's
so
no silence.
When I get rejected from a woman, it's just like, you're a loser. You should go home. And I literally, I was kotowaru, which means in Japanese to refuse. So I would be like, I cannot listen to this voice. You can't silence it. And that is, it's what in part of the insecurity is. It's like, I wouldn't want to date someone with this. I don't want to have it. Why would someone want to date me? And so getting over that of just, you're an interesting person is rough. Especially when, like I said, it's been 4 years since I've had sex with women. And that's like part of it was just COVID. and then just it compounds. And luckily I had great friends like Charlie, yourself, to kind of lean on. But if men get stuck behind, unlike if women get stuck behind, women are so social, they'll help each other, like just automatically.
True.
With men, it's why you have all these Japanese incel guys. Like if they don't have someone who's gonna really help them, men get stuck in these silos, and you don't know. I mean, so many of my own friends who don't know how to go and approach women. They're like, I can't do that. And it's everyone has their own thing, and
yeah,
it can make you very fun. But
what's the hardest? What's your biggest struggle in it? Like, what's your biggest struggle in talking to women? What would you say is what's the hardest part about it for you?
Because everything else was semantic, like sitting still, stuff like that. That's stuff that you just get better with time. It's not. It's annoying, but it's not an actual challenge. Yeah. For me, it's getting over those voices in my head, because there's a huge voice in my head that it can't even believe women want to be with me, and so it's. I mean, and that's a confidence issue. And it trails back to that incident being accused of being a school shoot. Like it just cycles. So that I think is the hardest part of doing it. It's why I want to try to make something. I've been trying to make something happen, because I think once I'm a person who doesn't believe you just have confidence. I think you have to build it up by doing things like that. Sure. Achievements help that.
It's earned.
Exactly. And so with women, I mean, most areas else of my life, like I'm great with finance, like dating. If you started to date me, I think I'd be great with my finances. I've gotten very good at communicating what I'm feeling. I'm very honest, and I do all my chores. But I think that hurdle in your head is the hardest. I had a joke a while where it's like, loser. Yeah. Just getting over that. Like last night, I was at this place, and I kind of got up on this bench to try to see the room because I was trying to find Charlie, my friend. And this girl comes up to me. I think she was interested in me, but she asked me, "Are you gay?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "You sound gay," and I defended it too long, and I should have moved subject. Yeah. And I just got into.
You got into the logical.
Yeah, I got into the logic stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, we're just trying to have a." And I was tired, so it wasn't a great thing. But after that, when I was walking to my car, because Charlie ended up going home with some girl, and I'm competitive, so. I was like, I refuse to listen to this head, because it would not stop like talking to you. And that's hard. And it's also hard to relate to people, because there's certain aspects of bipolar, the hardest parts, which people you can't simulate them. You don't know why. Even within my own family. And so, yeah, honestly, I think that's mostly in my head stuff, which is nice, because then it's not actual. It's stuff you can get over with bravery and shit, but... Yeah.
Have you ever read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle? Or heard of it?
No, sounds like a good book for me.
It's a really great book. This guy had voices in his head. He might have had undiagnosed bipolar, I don't know, but he talks about it in the very beginning of the book. And then he doesn't really say how it happened, but he kind of just... Well, he does say how it happened, but it's hard to describe how it happened. You would have to read the book. But he describes like being so lost in his own head that he like went into this total void of like nothing, and then everything got silent. And then it's kind of weird how that's kind of how he became this like really enlightened dude, essentially. Like he just and he doesn't. He's not saying like that's how you become enlightened. He's just saying like in the book he's describing like how do you get to a state of total peace where maybe there isn't a way to silence the voices in your head, but also maybe there is, and there's just like I don't know, because bipolar is just so like there's no like I'm not saying it's like who knows. But I used to have a lot of the voices of like self-doubt. Maybe they weren't as prevalent.
There's so some. I don't like putting.
I don't know if there's a way to make it go away though. I don't know.
Probably not. But I don't like putting like one of the things my mom never let me do is be special because I have bipolar. Try to treat yourself like everybody else, because that way, I believe you can learn to silence those voices. And I think I don't think they're like, when you silence them, they go away. I think they're always there. And you just learn to zone them out. Because I meditate a lot. I try to do things to balance. And I am a pretty balanced person. And it's in part of it is when I say, no, I refuse to listen to those voices, is putting up that wall. Because what we are is, humans are a collection of subpersonalities. And what borderline personality disorder and split personality disorder is think of we're all a collection of subpersonalities. They're all like islands. And they're all connected. You know, some are bigger than others and they form up the bigger parts of our personality, and there's some smaller ones. And what happens in split personality disorder, not actually, but in a sense, is that those islands get disconnected. So there's no connection. So you're two separate people, which is not great. And what you don't want to do in bipolar, because what happens if you try to isolate like that depressed voice, often you'll just get manic. It goes in these circles. And so what you learn to do is you have to have these islands that are connected. But in my thing is like, I in my mind will like block off that island. Like I'm not severing the connection. I'm like freezing it. I'm saying we're not listening to you right now. And that is probably this guy you said probably has a similar process of going through things. And it's really, I always wished I could create a helmet which would allow normal people to feel like what it's like to be bipolar. And honestly, if I were to predict what would happen, especially if you put in someone like with deep mania who never had it, they'd probably try to kill themselves because they're so not used to it. Because it's so, it's like you have like people when they saw me when I was manic, they're like, you're a different person because you are. When you're manic, what actually is the screwed up part is it's not a bad. This is why you don't want to be just happy. Jordan Peterson talks about this. When you're manic, when you start to get manic, you feel amazing. Everything around you is great. It feels great. But as you get more and more manic, if everything you experienced was the best thing that ever happened to you, everything, like literally picking up something on the floor, you're psychotic because you can't distinguish between what is actually a good experience and what's not. It's why I think the limits, like you want to have stress in your life, stressors to pull at things so you can feel the happiness when appropriate. It's really hard. I remember like you get psychotic. I was walking my bike across Wadsworth, a busy street, and I black out. We haven't found the bike to this day. I don't know how I got home. I don't know what I did. And it's an overload with your brain. And these types of things are things that everyone has, and everyone can learn to do it. And it's why I think that it does when people who do overcome bipolar, they are a lot stronger for it. Like I'm also a very resilient person because I've been knocked on my ass so much that when I do get knocked on my ass, it's why I hate to lose so much. I hate it. And I've used it to be like, I'm not going to lose to this illness. Like when I walked home from Charlie, I said, I'm not going to forget this night. I'm going to remember all the mistakes I did, and I'm going to use that to get better. That's kind of more of, I would say, probably more of a masculine take. I'm more of a masculine guy. But those are what's important. And, then it's just a matter of time. I think trying to go out and meet women is a great way. I hate using, I kind of use the app sparingly, but they just fucking suck. Good for you for never using them. They fucking suck.
Oh, yeah.
Should learn to line dance. I have fucking pretty open hips because I do fucking Muay Thai.
You can still learn. Never too late.
It's never too late to learn anything. That's, as a person, there's a lot of things. I think the beginner's mindset, like going out with women. Oh yeah. It was so important. Like, I'm just trying here to get better. Like you have to put yourself in that. And people who get really good at one thing and they can't transition, it's not great for them. One person who taught me this was Joe Rogan because he does so many hard things. And if you have that mindset of I'm just trying to get better, and trying to beat who you are rather than someone else.
Yeah, you can't beat it. Yeah,
but dancing
is such a trap to be competitive with others unless it's like a direct competition. Like the goal is to win, like a game. Like you're trying to win a football game or a basketball game or a fighting match. You're trying to win a chess match, but like when it comes to like an individual, like an art, or like, maybe, for example, hunting, or literally any form of art, there is, in my opinion, well, maybe, I'm sure there's some exceptions, but like there's no point in being competitive. It's about just creating the best thing you can create, and being competitive against yourself in that. But being competitive against others, it's like, I don't think it loses. It's not art anymore when you're like, I'm trying to make a better painting than Picasso. What the fuck is that?
Exactly. I don't know if disagreement's right the word, because I agree with you with when you're hunting, because I'm not Cameron Haynes, you're not this person. I think it's not that you're not competitive, you're adjusting your competitiveness accordingly. It's like, I'm competing against who I was, not who someone else is. And you can do that even in a sport, especially in a sport and fighting, because when you're going out to do stand-up, to play against a team, I realized when I was comparing myself to the other team, it only got me in a bad place. Where if I said, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do my very best, to do my best, the outcome is out of my control. But if I do my best, what else can I say? That happened to me at Kill Tony. Because Kill Tony, I don't know if you've seen it, but I ate shit. It was awful.
I didn't see. I saw your minute. I didn't see the full interview.
Yeah, the interview wasn't much better. Okay. It was all very bad.
Okay, I saw you came out in the gi.
Yeah, it was
pretty funny.
It was funny, but it was. I mainly had worked. I tried to do too much. I worked a 10-hour shift. I went to 2 hours of jiu-jitsu, and then I tried to do.
Did you live in Austin at the time?
Yeah, I lived in a couple of those pictures are from Austin.
Oh, really? You lived in Austin for a while.
Last year, from January to August. Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, it was my first time on Kill Tony and only time, and I ate shit. And I remember going up on stage thinking, I'm gonna get secret show. I'm gonna get this. Everybody's gonna know who I am.
Oh no.
And after that night, I literally went through like a record player in my head, the whole thing again, so it couldn't haunt me. That's why I promote it. I was like, I fucking failed at that. That sucked. Now, every time I go on stage, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking about getting booked on a show. I'm like, I'm just doing my best. If I focus on that, everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it's something that's it's what also a person in comedy going to Austin taught me.
Yeah.
I saw all these famous people and comedians who are funny. Like, just be funny. The outcome's out of your control. If you need to be famous as a comedian, there's way easier ways to go be famous.
Yeah, make a TikTok.
Something. And even that, like I don't know if this is because there's a lot of psychedelics, but those can help you be like, oh, I've had a ton of ego deaths on psychedelics. To just be sometimes.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, what's meditating. What time is it? Oh, shit.
Something Eckhart Tolle talks about a lot. What time?
What time does the sign up go for a river?
I think it's 5:30.
5:30 is the sign up?
Yeah.
5:30 is the show.
Good question. Could be 5 p.m. sign up. I actually forgot. I haven't gone to the river in quite a few months because I was working at Comedy Works and I worked every Sunday.
Oh, shit. You were working at Comedy Works?
Yeah, I was working at Comedy Works.
When did you decide to be a firefighter?
Well, I've been a firefighter, actually. But it's a seasonal job with wildland firefighting.
Oh, yeah. My dad told me I should have gotten into that.
Hey, you still can.
I still can.
A lot of job security.
There is a lot of job security.
There's more in your dreams, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like sticking with comedy, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got another state job.
Nice.
Keep it in mind.
But it's a lot of fun, and I was working at an office job, which is kind of a perfect situation for comedy, because I just clocked in and out. It was 9 to 5, in and done, and then during the job I could write all day. I had ample opportunity to write, but I was kind of getting burnt out. I can't work in an office. It's unsustainable for me.
Dude, I listen to so many podcasts during the fucking day.
Yeah. So I had to go back to firefighting.
Yeah, I get that.
But it sucks because it takes me away from comedy. Like, you probably haven't seen me the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So is the season starting now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It started. So this Wednesday we're doing our training for like the whole month. But luckily the training is in Denver.
Okay.
Because my job's in Canyon City. So I live far away now.
Shit.
Which kind of sucks. There's,
You live in Canyon City currently?
Oh, well, I live in Denver and Canyon City. I have a place here, and then I just sleep at the helicopter hangar there.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where does your girlfriend live? Does she get to come and see you?
Highlands Ranch is where she lives. So
Could be worse.
We hang out as much as we can. We spend a lot of time together. I don't want to move in together yet. That's not. I like to take things really slow.
Dude, I'm all with when women get rushing for things. Is like, so my sister got married after dating for 4 or 5 years, which
That's a long time.
yeah, well, they both had to figure. I'm really close with my brother-in-law. He's basically my big brother.
That's cool.
And I lived. So I gave their wedding speech. I don't know if you've seen it on my Instagram.
Oh no.
Check it out. It's actually really good because I lived with both. I knew both of them better than anyone there because I lived with them for 3 months.
Oh.
But they actually saved my life. It was after the pandemic. My sister's like, "Come live in Utah. You need to come live with us."
Oh wow.
Great older sister, and I got to tell them why they worked, and they worked because the reason my parents work. My parents are very different people. And it's the same reason they work. They balance each other out well. And they took time to figure out who they were before. And they live in Utah where everybody gets married like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm the same way with especially moving in. Like, if you're a girlfriend and boyfriend, like, you don't really need to move in. Because if someone spends the night, if your girlfriend spends the night at your place, like, you can kind of do that. And still have, I think it's important to have that separation. And I think sometimes people are running to happily ever after, and I don't believe in happily ever after. Mm-hmm. I mean, I believe there's good endings, but happily ever after,
No, I don't think I think Hollywood creates this has created this idea in our culture that another person will complete you, another person will bring you happiness, another person will, be your knight in shining armor or your princess in the castle, and that's what romance and love is. And that's like saying what's a good analogy for that? That's like a very short-sighted, like, it's like it's like a drug version of romance.
Well, it is a drug. So for the first 4 months you're in a relationship, your brain is basically on heroin. It's why in those first 4 months you need to, like, well, why do we just fall off? It's because then you're not in that and you're in a relationship. And I'm a rare person who, my parents have a very good relationship, but they argue. It's not this perfect, pretty thing. It's work.
Yeah, well, that's what it is.
It's work.
Yeah.
I think it's work that's worth it.
It's not just fucking all the time.
Well, no, like, I think I had that because in some of, and I've talked about before, but in some of my psychedelic experiences when I've done a lot of them, it's like in some situations where you're like in a perpetual state of orgasm. Mm-hmm. And when I was in those states, I bet I was like trying to kill myself because I just wanted to stop. Jordan Peterson has a phrase. He says, "Life isn't margaritas on the beach. Mm-hmm. Life is how you greet your wife when you come home every day." Stuff like that, that's what builds it. And yeah, margaritas on the beach happen now and then. And it's important to have those now and then. But I think I realized, especially over COVID, it was me waking up, working out. Like, that was every day. Going to comedy, maybe falling off, getting back on the horse.
Yeah.
Working on things. That's, I don't want, like, even when I retire, I'm going to still be doing things. My grandfather's 92 years old. He rides his bike 30 miles a week. He does Meals on Wheels, delivering meals to people who are actually younger than him twice a week. He goes and sees friends. He keeps active, and it's why he's 92 and looks as great as he does. Because he has those schedules, has those routines. People think routines are boring and not sexy. God, if a women, I'm a very organized. I have a planner. I write everything down. When women come to me with organized shit, I'm like, and then if she's smart, I had a bad joke I wanted to tell about how if a woman is white and dumb, I'm like not attracted to her at all. But if she's white and smart, I'm like, fuck.
You only like white chicks?
No, it's like after Asians, like it's smart white women. Because I don't like calling myself smart because my whole family does it and it doesn't do anyone good. But I am a decently smart person, and when I was at university, I was with the top level of talent of smartest people you're ever going to meet, and I was a member of that group. So when a woman is significantly
that comes in handy for comedy.
Oh, it is. I like smart things. I like reading. I like intelligent stuff. And so for just casual dating, which I'm kind of open to now, it's fine. But if someone's significantly less intelligent than me, I get a little bored. And it's why the girl I fell in love with, the reason I did is she was very smart. And I would talk to her and we'd have great conversations that were interesting. And that was a huge turn on for me, especially when I've always been very, very good at math, very good at ideas, discussing things. And when a girl can do that, especially like confidence in women to me is super, super attractive. Some people are like, I partially, my mom's a very strong woman. So is my sister. So I'm used to that. And that appropriately is interesting to me. It makes me think I want someone to contend with in a relationship.
Yeah.
And longer term, like I'm so inexperienced. I'm open for fun like everybody else, but I'm not like our friend Charlie can kind of bounce between women, and I think he's
pretty good at that.
He doesn't seem like he's a sleazy piece of shit, and he seems happy with it. He doesn't seem like it's affecting him in a way, but I don't know. You seem this. I've needed a girlfriend if it's gonna be something serious. I can't bounce between two people. That's too many holes. Too many.
I'm the same way actually. Yeah, it gets to be too much because it ends up being like a job.
Yeah,
it ends up being like I had this conversation with another one of my friends. Probably would have been last week or 2 weeks ago. We were talking about he at one point was dating 6 different women at once.
6, like dating.
It wasn't dating. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It wasn't dating. But like at any given point, he could text one of them, and they would probably be like, "Yeah, let's hang out tonight." And he's really, he's a good-looking guy. He's a funny guy. He's a cool dude. And every person I've ever seen him date has been like, drop dead gorgeous. It's crazy how he does it. And, he was definitely done with that. Once he did that, I kind of had the same thing where I was like, once I did that, I was only dating 4 though, but still it was a lot.
4?
It was still a lot. And then I was like, all right, I really just prefer this one person, and it ends up being my girlfriend now. But like, yeah, and he had the same thing where he was dating, and one of the people that he was dating ended up being like the person he liked way more than all the rest of them. He's like, yeah, this is the person for me. But you don't want to. It sucks when you're dating that many people, because it's just like, it becomes a whole job. It becomes a whole like, oh my gosh, what? Do I have to hang out with this person if I want to stay in their good graces? Do I want to stay in their good graces?
This is that's an interesting thing, because I love that. That's crazy. I can't imagine what that was like. But well, I haven't had sex in 4 years. Imagine. I think it comes to a point where because in high school, like I said, there were nobody to date, I learned how to be friends with women. And it's a skill that I think there's a lot of women, straight women, who learn how to be friends with guys. And it's more like you see a girl hang out with like 4 dudes, she's not fucking anyone of them. It happens all the time. Yeah. You don't see the reverse. And what I think that does to me, having a lot of close female friends, is it adjusts you more towards to being a relationship person because you see all of it. But it teaches you the type of women you want to be with. You said do I have to hang out with this person? I don't think about that. Like I'm like anyone I hang out with, not just women. I'm like if it's a chore to me, I mean, there's balance, because obviously there's some chore like duties in a relationship. Yeah. But if it's like, do I have to? Then I'm like, well, then don't do this. Like if you're not going to give a person like that, and I think that. One of my friends in college, because I was complaining about not getting laid, he's like, dude, one of the reasons I think you don't get laid is you have way more female friends than I do. And because part of a relationship, as you would know, is the intimacy, the relationship. The sex is obviously, everyone loves that, but the relationship, the intimacy. And I realized that at a young age, because all the one time I have had sex, it was with someone who I was actually had a relationship with, but wasn't like that, bonded with. And I'm like, that was the part that was missing. And I think the hole you're trying to fill, I think people are trying to fill they want an emotional connection. They're trying to fill it with something physical. And so when they do have sex and, just on a one-night stand, they feel like shit afterwards because you're trying to fill this hole with something that's physical and it's emotional that needs to be filled in there. And those are types of things I think that friends, especially the nice thing about, especially having a lot of lady friends, they will tell you, women and their friends will tell you what you're doing wrong. And they'll be able to be more accurate. And that was so helpful to me.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll tell you. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't want to hurt your feelings. You must have some nice female friends.
I've had to pull it out.
A lot won't tell you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Because whereas we're very, generally speaking, logical, very logical. Like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Why somebody would want to date me, like you were mentioning earlier. Like, you're very organized. You're clean. You're good with your finances. Logically, you're a very good decision for most women. And then you get to actually, like, women are very emotional, though. They don't really think about that when they're looking for a partner. I think that's something that we as guys, I'm thinking like that all the time too. Like, we as guys make a lot of mistakes on is like, logically I make sense. Whereas like women are like, emotionally, how does this make me feel around them? How does he make me feel when I'm around him? That's what they're thinking about. How do I feel right now? Do I feel, like light and fun and free? Do I feel good? Do you ever watch women like hype each other up? They just like to make each other feel good. And the same is true with like why most women, unless you drag it out of them, they won't be honest with you.
I've had to drag it out. Like that's the thing in these relationships, especially this lesbian couple I'm very good friends with. Mm-hmm. So my Japanese teacher, she's the guy in the relationship, more masculine, easier to get stuff out of her because she just has a more masculine personality. But her partner is definitely more, and I have literally had to be, I'm speaking at their wedding, and I've had to be like, I need you to tell me what you don't like. I don't care if it hurts my feelings. It's your wedding. I want it to be great for you. If you don't like what I'm saying. And she, like you said, they struggle. I have to make her laugh and finally get her to get her, because it is hard to drag it out of women, and
very feminine women.
Very feminine women.
Yeah.
And I think lesbians are like, it's not really a joke, but that every straight guy should have a lesbian because especially with being around lesbian women, there's no tension of having sex. Like, that's out of your mind because they're gay. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes.
Some off,
depends on how attractive they're.
If you find, you usually want to go with the guy lesbian this and then get to know some of her friends. It teaches you, okay, what in a situation where I'm not thinking about sleeping with this person, how do I be around this person? How do I talk to this person? I don't know. For me, as a person who gets overloaded with his mind, runs too fast, removing those bits of information were so helpful. And a big reason, like when I came back from Austin, when I was in Austin, like I said, I do a lot of masculine things, like guy things. Not a lot of women there. And one of the things I missed most in Austin was my female friends. Was having that, like, I love hanging out with guys. I love this. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
Firefighter.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But sometimes I'm like, I want to go, and you can't say the same thing around women. Like when we're around a bunch of women, you can't say that joke that pops in your head. You have to learn those filters, which as a person who is very logical and straightforward and very blunt, learning what those filters are around other women, I was like, oh, that's what they were.
Why can't you say it?
Women are, I think, partly just sensitivity. Like they're much more like guys.
You can get away with it.
You can, and the thing is, you have to find the line. And women will have more often, I've found, have that one thing that doesn't really make sense that sends them like really out of control. And you have to find what those things are. Like just observing, like one thing I noticed about these two. One of them, so the woman in my friend, she will go out and she's very open. She's the guy. She kind of goes out and talks to all these women. And she kind of comes in, and when she gets drunk in kind of a flirty way, but not too much. And some women will flirt back. And her partner, she's a woman. She can't stand it, but she can't articulate it. So she gets super passive aggressive. And one thing I noticed when I was looking between them, I noticed that I'll just because Elena won't mind. Elena, she's Japanese. She likes it. She likes making other women jealous, which is super subtle things. And she'll say what she feels in her own room, but when there are other women around, she won't say anything. And I've had to coach them a couple times, like when they've just had normal struggles, because there's two women, they won't be up front. So they've had like either an issue, they run out of room in their house with another woman there, and I've sometimes coached them about how to be confrontational. And that's actually a guy, like, it's interesting to see in gay relationships with women. It's one thing that they struggle with, especially because women tend to be more agreeable. They don't tend to confront. Now, you're like me, and I can confront and I can get aggressive and its own problems. But men also tend to be generally better at conflict resolution. Because if you and I got a big fight, like, I could hit you in the face, you could hit me in the face. But when the fighting's done... Well, I'm just example. Like,
I know you are. I'm just kidding.
Like, even if they don't like the other person, after physical altercations, there's usually some respect between two men. Like, we don't like each other. We're going our separate ways.
Yeah.
Women can't do that because they're not as physical.
Yeah.
But then there's no relief of tension. So they just fucking reputation savage, which does way more damage. And there's never that direct connection. These are some of the things I noticed between men and women differences where you need that balance to be, as a man, especially in a like, we're having an issue here. We need to talk about this and deal with it.
Yeah.
We don't need to start to like savage each other in awful ways because that's like doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
And just interesting things like that. I always found people say there's no difference between men and women, and I'm like, fuck you, bullshit. Who says that? That's the best part. Like, if it wasn't, I would be around dudes all the time and fuck dudes all the time because it would be no different.
Yeah. Yeah, women not only have completely different bodies, but completely different energies, too. I'm not, like, that's the thing, like, even if men looked like women, I still wouldn't be attracted to men.
I had a phase.
Because they're just not, like, I love the energy of women. I love the feminine, like, the fun, like, you know, let go. It's like a drug being around women. Like a very fun one who just, like, knows how to just, like, make you, like, just, you know, be free and loose and not care about anything. Forget about everything in the world. That's the best kind of... That's the best kind... Yeah.
It is. Even when I... just kind of side tangent. Brian Simpson, do you know who that is?
Yeah, the comedian.
He has a new special, and he has a joke where it's the question's not how are you gay, it's how gay are you. There's like a scale of gay, and I think most, like, everyone, like, straight people are like 5% gay, like very low, and then for me, I'm like 10% gay. But you're back to the point. When I was attracted to men, I was only attracted to men like physically. Like, I have a joke of, like, ever download Grindr when you watch a movie with Jason Momoa, because it was always physical. It was never like I wanted to date guys, because it was the same thing. Eventually, I realized it was just gay men need to straight men need to experiment just a little bit. You need to have a little bit of gay venom so you can be like, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
And it's why I got mad last night at this girl, because I was tired and I was just looking for my friend to go home. And she's like, are you gay? I'm like, yeah.
She opened with that.
Yeah, that was the weird open with her.
Maybe she was autistic. You should have responded, are you autistic?
Yeah.
Who says that to the... Yeah. You know what I mean? Who the fuck
She
says
said,
that?
you sound gay. I'm like...
Yeah, and you sound like a bitch right now. That's what I would say.
I was kind of... I was like, whatever. But it's an insult now that I've gone through that.
Yeah.
That it's as much as I still get flustered a little bit. I'm like when guys are like, I'm gay. Like, I know I'm not.
Yeah. And
I think it's because it is the energy, like, of women. It's always like, I think most men know by the time they're like 15. Like, I think they may not.
I mean, yeah, unless you're most. Let's say most men.
Yeah, most. I think some of them don't admit it.
Yeah. There's some guys who come out when they're like 40. Obviously, that's not most, but...
Well, they're crazy. 40, so they were, 18, 20 years ago, which was different.
Just super suppressing it.
There's a lot of guys... I actually haven't met a person who I can suppress it, but I was always, like... I remember when I was 10, and my friend was like, that was gay. And I knew what it meant. And I asked him... Like, and this is like... I'm 10, I know nothing. I asked him, why is that offensive? Because to me, I'm like... Like, they're gay.
Yeah.
Like, so, and I didn't even come from, like, I didn't have, that was, my parents never talked about gay. I just never thought it was an issue if two men like each other. Like, why is that insulting? And I think it's because it's, you know, like, some people are like, you know, Calvin Reed in the scene. Gay. Just, like, look, sounds.
For sure.
Just some people are so, and women are like that too. Like, there's usually in relationships, there's in gay relationships, like, you can tell which one's gay. There's always one that you can tell with 100% certainty that one is gay. Then there's one you're like, no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You can, yeah, that's the interesting thing is, like, now it's so culturally acceptable. I would say most people probably don't hide it. Like, the taboo has been removed, at least in Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we're in quite a bubble here. I'm sure in the South there's still quite a few people who don't feel comfortable.
But probably in the big cities, not so much.
The big city's fine. Yeah, I'm sure. But, yeah, I remember being a kid, and I would call other kids gay all the time. I would be like, this kid's gay. Like, I would do it.
It's a great insult.
Yeah. When you're, like, in 7th grade or when you're 7 and in Catholic school, like, it's hilarious to do that. But I would get in trouble, and I was a smart little kid, because I would say, no, I meant happy.
That's where it came from.
These kids would be so mad. Yeah, really? Is that where it came from?
I'm guessing.
I think it's spelled different. I think it's like G-A-I or something. It's the same.
It's the same way. It's spelled the same way. I think it was this. That's like my second half on Kill Tony.
Nice,
yeah,
dude.
It was.
How'd the interview go?
Oh, bad. I was done. Like, I was basically just trying to get off the stage.
And he kept you up there?
No, he didn't. He didn't even. He kind of offered the audience a refund. Asked me a couple questions.
He offered the audience a refund?
Yeah, when I was on stage.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
it wasn't good at all.
Oh,
and
no.
I think it's a big reason I never got up again on, like, the mothership or anything there. It was just so bad. But
so why did you live in Austin?
I kind of wanted to live away from Colorado. I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
Mainly for comedy. I wanted to go down and be famous, and then I realized my own shit. I'm so glad I went.
Where'd you work?
I couldn't, like, this was the time I just graduated. I couldn't find a job, so I was working landscaping, and then I was working construction, digging sewer lines.
There?
Yeah, at 115-degree heat.
Oh my gosh, dude. And did you... Well, 2 questions, I guess. First, what made you move back? And second, yeah, I guess, why
I had a big car bill, was a big one, and then more, I was like, the Austin scene, none of the open mics have audience members because there's so many comedians that you can go to a show that's free that will have much better comedians. So mics stink. It's overly competitive. Like 40 to 50% of the scene is cool, and, like, I'm all for them. Then, like, another 50% just want to be comedy famous, and they're
kind of assholes.
Yeah, well, like, the door guys, I signed up every week for the mothership for like 7 months. There's 2 mics a week. I never got on once, and I would see women on 3 years in a row who I've never seen in an open mic, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're fucking the door guy. That's why, because the door guys make the list. That's show business. It's nothing new.
Yeah, that's fine. That makes sense.
But it was annoying starting out. I think I moved down there too early. Like, that's a good place to move when you're like 8 years into comedy. You're borderline professional.
Yeah.
But I was down there. It was Ali got me to move back because he came down and visited, and he didn't say it in too many words. Because he's very polite and tries to not force things on people.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like, Denver's a better scene. I came back to Denver and I was immediately happier. Another huge thing. As you can see from all the pictures, I love mountains. I miss that. I miss that culture. I hated being inside all summer and it's boiling hot.
Yeah, that would suck.
So it was a fun city. I love going back. I made some great friends down there, and I grew up a ton. But it was not. I wanted to go down and be on Joe Rogan's mothership and be super famous, and I wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
But that's why with my ego, when I came back here, like, the comedy here, it's not as big, but the scene is tighter, and I love the people in the Denver comedy scene. I've been in 3 scenes. I started out in Salt Lake when I was living there, and I've done Denver and Austin. I love Denver a lot. I think Denver is growing more organically with the city, which has its ups and downs. And home, like, the big thing was the mountains. I fucking miss the mountains.
Yeah.
Hunting, and to just go up and be an outdoors person. That was hard for me not to have any of that to do.
Yeah, I bet.
And it was good for the time being. But I was like, I'll go.
Yeah.
Home. And
cool,
I'm
man.
happier here too. I'm live in my parents' basement, which isn't too bad. I save a lot of money on rent.
There you go. Yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. Does your dad live out here then?
Yeah, my dad and stepmom, and I have a little brother. They live in Longmont.
Oh, fine.
That's where I was.
I
go see his soccer games and stuff, and go hang out with him, and just like.
How old is he?
He's 7.
7. Okay, that's fun.
Yeah, he's almost 8. He's gonna be 8. Well, I guess he's not almost 8. He'll be 8 in September, but yeah, it's fun having a little brother. I have a lot of siblings. I have 3 brothers total and 1 sister.
Yeah, there's a lot of siblings.
Yeah, but my parents split up, so they had kids with other people too.
Oh, so you have a lot of step siblings too.
Yeah, like half siblings.
Half siblings.
Yeah. Which is cool, but dude, yeah, I've been talking to a lot of different comedians about the scene in Austin, and it sounds like it's not conducive to starting out. It's more conducive to
making it,
and which is interesting because I wonder if LA and New York are like that too. I've heard New York's not like that as much because New York just has so many people, spread out across so many different, Well,
actually, a little place. I couldn't live in New York. I'm a mountain boy.
Yeah, I couldn't live in New York either. I wouldn't.
I
would try it out.
I would. I don't know, living. I'd go visit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because a lot of New York people who come to Colorado don't like Colorado, and kind of vice versa.
Well, they're used to the city.
Yeah, they're used to the city. To me, I'm like, a fundamental part of me is I want to go on adventures into wild places. And can I do that there? Like, I can do a lot of martial arts.
Yeah.
I'm away.
I could go upstate.
Upstate, but
go to Maine.
Yeah, Maine.
There's elk in Maine.
I know there's elk in.
Beautiful scenery in Maine. Acadia National Park's up there.
I don't know. I am a rare breed of. I'm native to Colorado, and it's so part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
The West, like I couldn't leave the West. Like I'd move up to Montana or something like that. The West, most people don't understand that the North American West is one of like the geological marvels of the world because of how the Rocky Mountains were raised up. Most mountain ranges it's either two continental plates collide, like the Himalayas, or they happen at where like a oceanic plate and a continental plate. They'll kind of subduct and then they'll push up. Like that's why a lot of mountains are near oceans. But how do the Rocky Mountains form then? Because the Rocky Mountains, there's no plate nearby. There's no plate collision. The nearest plate edge is like thousands of miles away. So what happened? It's why it's unique. What happened is that when the oceanic plate on the west coast subducted, it subducted at a really shallow angle. So it fell further underneath the crust, and it caused I think they call it Laramie Androgeny, was the lift up. It's also why the peaks of the Rocky Mountains are granite, but the foothills are sediment, and it's why they look like, if you look at the foothills, it looks like the mountains were literally forced up from the ground because they were. And that also made the amazing deserts we have in fucking Arizona because of this huge formation.
I never knew any of this.
I learned it in a geology class, and I didn't want to take. But
what about Yellowstone? Does that explain Yellowstone too?
Yellowstone has.
There used to be volcanoes.
There is still a volcano there. There's a massive caldera there.
Oh wow.
That's part of it. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, but there's the wonders, like in the amount of public land we have out here. It's so. And I grew up like my parents, they gave us a nice life, but they didn't have a ton of money. We didn't travel. We went all over the West. That's where I hunt.
Oh, wow. You can glass for days there. Yeah. What unit is that?
That's Utah in the distance. That's units 22.
I wonder if that's OTC for elk. Jeez, I mean, you can glass everything, dude. You could find elk. If there's an elk in there, you'll find it because you can look. That's crazy. Yeah, the land I hunt doesn't look like that. That's amazing.
And
it looks like that.
Yeah.
And that's tough to hunt.
That is tough to hunt. But maybe, I don't know where comedy's going to take me. But I may always be a Colorado and that's part of why I left. I didn't want to just be this person who lived where he stayed, never moved.
Yeah.
And I went there, and I wasn't miserable in Austin, but I just wasn't. As soon as I came home, I was like, I'm way happier. Way happier. And I think it's part of, also New York City to me, I don't know if I could do that many. I've been to Tokyo. And Tokyo's crazy. So, who knows?
There's always LA, too. Maybe not now.
I don't know.
Maybe not now.
I think comedy with technology is going to look very different, and I think trying to predict how it's going to look is a fool's errand.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like I'm trying to hedge all my bets because like the future is so unpredictable. Like I want comedy to work more than anything in this world, but that's kind of why I also got the firefighting job, because it's like I need to work anyway.
Yeah,
like I can't just make money off comedy right now, obviously.
Yeah,
and I want to sustain my lifestyle, which is, living in Denver, going hunting every year, eating, a lot of meat and a lot of good supplements. And if I want to do that, well, I better have a decent job. And so firefighting is like kind of me hedging my bets. Like, all right, if AI takes over all the main jobs, then this is one that it can't take over.
I think I obviously want comedy work more than anything, but recently I've been saying I don't need it to work. I want it to work. I don't need it to work.
Yeah. And
I say that as a person who I have to have a balanced life, so I can't stay out. It's like some comics who hammer staying out late. I can't do that every night. I get home. My bedtime's 11.
Yeah.
And I have to get home there because you get one night of sleep without bipolar, you can bucking manic like that.
Yeah,
it happens
that sucks,
so quick.
dude. Yeah, it's not worth it.
I mean, it's fine if you're doing comedy full time and you're just like staying out every night. That's fine, because then that's a schedule. Mm-hmm. But until then, I also think that now, because we can see all these other comics, I see it in the scene all the time. I'm not going to name names. People are 1 or 2 years in and they're pushing for a lot of shit. And I speak from experience because I was that kid going down to Austin. It's not like, it takes much longer than that.
It's a long game.
It's a very long game.
Yeah.
So I'm in that in the long. I go for the long. It's hard. I'm very competitive. I see people like, this is good, Evan Joe, who's just hammering all these mics. Beaver, he hammers all these mics as well. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? I'm getting there bit by bit. I'm doing my own bit. I'm doing this podcast. I try to make that work as well. Mm-hmm. And I do a lot of other things I like to do that like keep my life full. I think that's important.
Yeah. Absolutely. In the Tao Te Ching it says something about that, where it's like the most engaged yet the least attached will win. And I think it's just saying like, if you the person who's most engaged with the process of being great at whatever it is that you're trying to master, but not attached to any outcome with that process, you're just focused on being engaged with the process and mastering that is the person who will come out on top. And as long as you're not attached to, it's okay to say whatever happens. It doesn't mean you don't care.
Yeah, I think that's one thing I had to accept with comedy is you can't guarantee an outcome. You can put an effort towards it, and that's important. But I saw Ali said this to me when he was in Austin too. He's like, comedy is not my life. Well, it is my life, but I like to do things like soccer and said a couple other things. But I like that because I think it's, like you said, to be the most engaged but the least attached. Mm-hmm. I saw what needing, and I see it in some people's eyes of doing this. And the thing is that need, I think, consumes a ton of just mental and physical energy you have.
Mm-hmm. Does.
And I've been a type of person, because I was like this in college. I wanted to go be an electrical engineer. I had to have it work. I had to make it work. And when it didn't work, it tore me apart. Those who succeed in life are really good at plan B. Mm-hmm. And I love comedy. I'm probably going to try to do it till I die. Mm-hmm. But I think with technology changing and where a lot of people, like, we have a lot of comedians in the scene who are good, but they're, like, within the open mic scene itself. I mean, there's a lot of great people, but there's a lot of difference. When I see really young, I love ambition and stuff, but when I see young people trying to I saw this in Austin, be seen on a show, I want to do the show, I want to do this. Just going to mics, doing your best. Mm-hmm. I think those people tend to last a little longer. Mm-hmm. You'll even see some of the guys in the scene who are further in. They're almost more relaxed about it. Mm-hmm. And not to diss that, because sometimes that intense energy is what takes the day, is what gets you there. But I remember hearing Tim Dillon talk on his podcast. You know who that is?
Yeah, of course. I love him.
Oh, yeah, he's great. He was talking how he didn't, like, he kind of had comedy. Comedy was working out for him. But what else? He had his podcast, and he kind of mentioned Rogan, like, was like, not everybody's going to do jiu-jitsu. And that's why I keep the other things in my life. Like, you know, we had trouble setting this up because you were busy with life, and I really respected that, because I think it's important to have other areas of life and that doesn't mean comedy's not your priority, but when I see people who have just comedy, my thing is, like, when you make it, what are you going to do then? Because then you're going to be 30.
Yeah.
Or 30 plus. And trying new things. I mean, you can always try new things, but
now's the time to try new things.
And it's why, like, with me in college, I figured out what I want. I love martial arts. Like, I have it's kind of weird. People have joked me being a Joe Rogan clone, but people have never. One of the things, if you ever don't want someone to make fun of you, every time someone's brought up Joe Rogan, I'm like, you're not going to shame me for liking him. I love Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Don't try to shame someone, because I saw him do all these things. I was like, oh, if he can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah, we need role models.
He's a great role model.
It's not a bad thing to see somebody who's succeeding and, you know, try to model yourself after them. We're social learning creatures. That's literally what we all do, whether we recognize it or not. We're all modeling ourselves after someone or something. At least you're modeling yourself after somebody who is, I would say, a pretty good person. At least my perception of it is. I think some people it annoys. I don't know what it is. I don't know why that annoys some people.
Success. When someone's that successful, it's always going to annoy some people. Yeah. He does have some people. I've heard him say an asshole, which I didn't get as much, but I can kind of see. I don't know what he is, a big martial artist, and I even struggle right now to try to comprehend that. I also am just a huge fan, and to me, I don't even need all that. I honestly think without Joe Rogan's podcast, I would be. You can silence your phone. It's cool. I'd be dead, because during the pandemic, when I lost all my friends, the only contact between people I heard was between him. I woke up every day at 6:30. I worked out, and then I came home. I ate a perfect breakfast. I worked for 14 hours doing homework, and watched Joe Rogan in between, and went to bed and did it every day. And it was and it's what made me do comedy, because they talked about what it's actually like. Role models are so important, and I feel like there's a lot of backlash as times have changed against men. If you ask him, and Chris Williamson pointed this out, he asked, like, if men aren't not supposed to look to Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, these guys, who are they supposed to look to? And they don't have an answer. That's Austin, by the way.
They're supposed to look at the femboys on TikTok.
Well, like, if you're a femboy, like, good for you. I'm glad you like the femboys. But there's nothing wrong with feminine men or feminine women or masculine men. There's nothing wrong with masculine men.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing people got up on his ass about was for, you know, all the medical stuff. But
who cares?
Who gives a shit? I also, like, people are like, you can't listen to Joe Rogan about medical shit. I'm like, I'm not listening to Joe Rogan. I'm listening to the doctors that he's bringing on.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, I think people just want to get mad too.
Well, people are also. I've met a lot of people who talk about him and they either don't watch him. Some of them just don't like him. Which I've actually met. I met a couple people who just don't like him, and I actually believe them, because they just gave their reasons. Like, man, not my cup of tea. This, that. I don't like when he says this. But there wasn't like this vitriol, like, fuck you. It was just, I don't like him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, cool. I love to talk to those people because I like to pick their brains.
Yeah.
And other than that, I mean, he's a good person to look up to. People also don't because he is such a humble guy. Joe Rogan is a world-class martial artist.
Mm-hmm.
And
honestly a world-class elk hunter and archer. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of his stuff, but I'm more into like the archery side of things.
No.
Him. But
yeah, this is great. Archery, fucking jiu-jitsu, like kickbox. Like he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, gi and no gi, world-class kickboxer.
Yeah, I don't know how you
and that's a good person to look up to.
That's the thing. Not to interrupt, but
no, go ahead.
Something to point out as we're talking about just mastering a lot of different things. That's the process that so when you're engaged and not attached to an outcome, you can focus more on the process that produces the success, not the success itself.
Exactly.
And that's how you master things quicker. And it's not about mastering the most things or mastering as many things as fast as possible. It's just like, it's just about that pure, what do you like? It's just a very pure focus. It's a really potent, that's the word I'm looking for. It's a potent focus where because you're so focused on the process, you've acquired this super power basically of like, I can just focus on the process and nothing else. And that's how you master things. That's how you get great at comedy and martial arts. And you don't get hung up on, oh, how does this make me look? Oh, how does this, mostly how does it make me look? What does this look like for success wise? And none of that stuff actually matters.
That's why on my Instagram I posted the Kill Tony thing. Because I don't like when people make their Instagram look great. I have a lot of times.
I do that.
I basically will post mundane pictures of me waiting at a printer for things to print sometimes. I'm like mundane post. Same thing with like when I want like anything you'll do, you'll fail. And that's part of the process, and that's okay. And I want to normalize that. It's not just the good things. I think that the process, because I've always like one of the reasons I don't get into bow hunting is because I don't have fucking time. It's like on the top. As soon as I can do comedy full time and I'm not having to do another job, it's when I start. But it's such an in-depth process of practicing almost every day, if not every day.
It takes so much time.
And I'm like
to understand elk and their behavior
and that's the nice thing is like and Cameron Haynes said this too. Rifle is like a good introduction to hunting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, once I have success, I'll start to consider stuff, but I just don't have the time. And I think also, if you look at when Rogan got success in his 50s. That's when you're supposed to get super famous.
And caveat, he was not hunting public land. Not as like a diss on him or anything, but like it's a far different game hunting private land than it is public.
Exactly.
And
I was cursing Joe Rogan when I was hunting last time. I'm like, you fucking prick hunting on
It's so hard. Like I found 4 elk in 11 days in the woods. And I got within 150 yards of 2 of them. And that's not close enough to take a shot.
Yeah.
And 11 days where you just don't see a single one. And there was the last 2 days I was hunting, I heard bugling pretty much all morning on both the last days, which is so cool.
I've only found elk when I've been looking for mule deer. And I've only found mule deer when I've been looking for elk, yeah.
Really? I found quite a few mule deers. Yeah, last year when I was looking for elk, but that's the thing about it is just like I learned this last year. Like I don't think I don't know because I'm not in his shoes, but like if you're Joe Rogan and you're trying to hunt public land, it's a very different game than hunting private. Because if I chose to hunt private, if I had like 10 grand laying around, I would totally get a private land tag, and I'd be like, all right, let's go get let's do the calls and everything because you can call them on private land. They'll answer because they're not expecting it. And you can call them in. It's way easier.
No, it's everything's you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
But the reason I don't hold against Joe is because if someone came to you, hey, you want to hunt on private land? You're like, no. Like, what?
Yeah.
You're gonna say no?
Yeah, no.
And also,
you have to hunt on private land if you don't have a lot of time, and you want to if you want to guarantee, well, not guarantee, but if you want to increase your odds, get the bang for your buck.
yeah, and I think you can earn that. Like Cameron Haynes started on public land.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, but he's also a professional. He was a professional guide, and that's how most of those guys get their start. If you know who Remy Warren is.
But like even in Remy, I know, but I'm saying if you read Cameron Haynes' book, he started out on public land just like anybody else.
Yeah,
and when he is also talking when his praise for Joe Rogan elk hunting is when I'm like, okay, he's not just this one guy who accompanies these famous people on these private ranch hunts. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons people like to diss him is because it's really hard to accept that someone is also Joe's in his late 50s. He's had all these years to get good at things.
Yeah.
But it's hard when, like, I've told people who didn't know, like, how skilled he was at stand-up, fighting.
Makes them feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah, it does, because I mean, and one thing is that, so I actually first found out about Rogan from my old Korean master. I think he may know Joe Rogan. Because Joe Rogan comes from Taekwondo, which is Korean, and my master's about his age, my old master. And I first saw him listening to Joe Rogan.
Interesting.
That's when I first found Rogan because he.
That's funny. That's how you heard about him.
Yeah, that's when I first heard about him. Was from that, and
I think I heard about him when the whole Elon Musk thing happened, where he smoked weed on the podcast with Musk.
Yeah, everyone heard about that.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's another guy. People like one of my coworkers who I'm really good with. She doesn't like Musk, and she doesn't like to disagree with people. But I want to get her to say why.
A lot of people don't like that whole. I don't.
I don't like. I have if you look around, like, see, there's that moment.
It's him smoking on the podcast.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So I kind of can relate to what Elon did because I was a mathematics computer science, not the exact same thing. He's more engineering. Mm-hmm. So from what I've heard about him is that he's usually trying to be an aerospace engineer, a mechanical engineer, a civil engineer. Mm-hmm. He's like all of those things, which is like. So you had the second best aerospace engineering program in the world when I was there. It was so hard. And I'm a person who... I happen to live with fighters. I won't tend to judge fighters based on who they are as people. I tend to judge them based on fighting ability. And when someone is that smart at something and he's doing something with these companies, I'm like, yeah, we need that. We have to have that. This is a waste. I think it can, and I think because most people I don't think fully understand how far above he is from your average person in just intellect. And there's those types of people. There's other types of people like him. Because that's why I like going to a big university like CU. It's because I was always one of the smartest kids. I was the smartest kid in my school and shit, doing all that. You go to CU, you're like, oh, I'm just like everybody else. And some people cave because they're no longer the smartest person. I think that's like, no, you just got to do your best. And I think someone like Elon, and one thing people don't know, they don't like the money he's making. All he does is work. All he does is work. And all those billionaires, that's all they do is work. I come from a family of workaholics. You don't want that life. You are, people see the material goods. Oh, I got this, I got this, I got this. But they don't see the 16-hour work days they put in every day. They don't go out drinking with their friends. They work, they sleep. They work, they sleep. That's it. And I think because that's not normal, it's not healthy, it's hard for people to accept there's people like that. And so they get attacking on them, and, like a lot of comics and a lot of people now like to race on billionaires. It's like, well, like what if you were the billionaire? They had a good idea and they capitalized on it. Now, specific actions always merit stuff, but like that's why when people say I don't like this person and they can give me specific things, then I'm like, okay, you have your reasons. You've thought this out. This is not just like I don't like you because you have what I don't. That's so much of society now.
Yeah, it is. But also it's like the way I feel about it is like, yeah, it is. That's how it is. But oh well.
I mean, that's my... And honestly, that's not to get rid of, like, not taking care of people in a society that we can't do better. But I think a lot of times when people aren't doing well, they want to point to someone who's doing good. But that doesn't solve the problem.
Well, it makes them feel better.
Yeah, attacking people makes people feel better.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, where is your mind going? You know, when I see that, I try to just say, oh, well, good for you. Like, that's awesome. That's become... You know, you've become successful, and I try not to just, you know, shit on it, even if it's something I don't like. Where it's like, I don't know, like, I'm sure you know who Hannah Gatsby is. It's like, you know, do you know who that is?
I actually don't. Is that a comedian?
It's funny. I just found out about her because Dave Chappelle made some joke in one of his, I think it was one of his specials where he was like, I'll let go of this trans thing with the left if the left admits that Hannah Gatsby's not, when the left admits Hannah Gatsby's not funny. Because she's this comedian who just, like, she, like, explains her jokes before she tells them, and they're just, like, super woke. Like, it's a TED Talk. She's not a
It's
comedian.
clapped her?
It's snapped her, dude. It's not even funny. It's, like, it's not even just woke comedy. Like, I don't care about woke, whatever, but just, like,
it's not funny. You're agreeing with what she's saying. You're not laughing. I would rather.
Yeah, you're like, yes, go off. Type of
people clap
vibes.
with me. I'd rather bomb. I don't want you to agree with me. I want you to laugh.
Every now and then an applause. If you get one or two applause breaks during, you know, that's a good thing, right?
Well, those are applause breaks. Those are like, you're doing a good job. If you're just agreeing with me as a crowd, I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I don't want you to agree with me. Hopefully I'm, like, pushing your perspective a little bit. Like, that's what I at least would like to use the platform for, is, like, making people laugh is number one. Number two is think about it a little.
Well, half my set is on mental illness, and I open with, I hate mental health days. I hate them. There's fucking bullshit, and people start to cross their arms. They're like this, and then I go, I have ADHD and bipolar.
Yeah.
And the point is because I think a lot of people like to... This is a theory. People like to feel like they're solving a problem rather than actually solve a problem, especially when a problem is complex.
That's a good point.
And with mental illness, like, we had mental health days, and at least at the time, that's what they got rid of our spring break during COVID, and I needed that spring break. I didn't need your dumb mental health days, and so I would write the office like, "What is a mental health day?" And I'm like, well, it's day. Take time for yourself. Like, that's every day. Every day is a mental health day. Mental health is not one day where you say, I'm going to go and I'm going to take care of it. No, it's a process where you develop a routine of self-care that you continue throughout time. If you need a day off, that's fine. Everybody needs a day off to recuperate, but call it a day off. Don't call it a fucking mental health day, because what you're using it as a front to not actually solve any problems with mental illness.
Yeah.
And I will call you on your bullshit. I call people. I used to have a thing like, who here supports mental health? And everyone would clap. And I'm like, you're all full of shit. Because I have ADHD and bipolar, I asked my family that same question, and they're dead-eyed and sick of my bullshit. And it was to get people to see mental illness. My best joke is basically saying, this is what mental illness looks like. It's not fun. It's necessary. But this is what it is. I don't want it to be Instagrammable because it's not. It's a really hard process, and we love quick solutions. We want to feel like we're solving a problem rather than solve it. Like, so many people, homeless people, that's a problem because no one wants to actually sit down and deal with these people because it's hard. Yeah. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And I get riled up about this because everyone, especially, I hate when people take the name of something. They say I'm doing something and they're not. Like, and it happens all the time in mental health.
Welcome to modern culture, brother.
Yeah, I know. And so I rail on it. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Especially because my mom did do the hard work. My mom put me in therapy at 4. And so it's like honoring that. Wow. No, it was the best. Like, I say I'm the luckiest bipolar in the whole world. I've lost 2 cousins to killing themselves. Jeez. People with bipolar kill themselves at a rate of 20 to 30 times the normal population. Think about that. That's a 2,000 to 3,000% increase.
And you're a man, too, and men already kill themselves at a higher rate than...
I won't kill myself. Because I know if I kill myself, my mom...
No, I'm just saying it's more impressive than... I'm not saying you're...
I know. I'm casual about this because I've talked about it so much. Because I'm like, if I kill myself, then my mom's going to kill myself. And then my siblings will haunt my ass in hell forever.
Yeah.
But killing. I have a whole suicide joke too, like about calling. I'm sure you've seen it. It was like, my mom would be like, set the table, and I'd be like, no, I'm gonna kill life. Yeah, you know that one. I did that at a show, and it destroyed.
That's funny.
And because I get, and even Huberman was like to dance creepily around suicide, because I know it's sensitive to some people. I guess I'm very blatant about it because it's so prevalent.
Yeah, you've also been talking about it your whole life.
Exactly, and I've seen it's been like older cousins I've lost due to it. It's been in my family, so for me, it's obviously a serious thing. But I think people, especially severe mental illnesses, they're not easy, and it's also, I mean, it stems to why we have so many shootings in this problem. Like, yeah, the gun issue is a separate issue because why are there many young men doing that? Why? Because even if you get
that's
guns,
the real question.
That's the real question. They want to, like, even
that's the problem.
That's the problem. People want the gun thing because it feels like it's solving a problem. I even emailed one of my senators recently asking them, they're trying to pass a new gun control bill, and I said, this law works great if you're a law-abiding citizen like me and you say you cannot carry a gun into this place. But if you're a psychopathic shooter, you think you're going to see a law and be like, oh my God, I was going to shoot this place up, but I see this sign and now I can't do it. It's like, no, it doesn't solve the problem. It makes you feel like it. And they didn't get back. They got back to me, but they didn't respond to what I said. They said, we recording your answer. I'm like, oh, you're a politician. You're doing this because it makes people feel safer without actually being safer. Because actually what you do is, why do we have so many psychotic young men? Why? Yeah. That's a hard problem. And they're different, being complicated and complex.
Well, their job isn't to solve that problem.
Yeah, exactly. Even though technically
their job is to
make constituents happy.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows what their job is, to be honest, anymore.
And so I think we need to have more conversations geared towards that. Because these are complex problems, meaning that there's parts of it you don't understand and they're not going to go great.
Yeah, true.
And you gotta go through, because one video movie I want people to watch a ton of is The One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh yeah,
have you seen?
Should I go home and watch that?
You should. So it is.
I was watching Roadhouse earlier. Have you seen that?
The new one?
Nah, fuck the new one. The old one, man. The real one, dude. The American one. That's how they used to fucking make movies.
Oh god.
Okay, what were you saying though?
No.
One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's
Nest. It's like an old movie with like young Jack Nicholson.
Okay.
It's from the 70s, which is crazy, and it's about being in a psych ward in the 70s, and it is so accurate to this day. And there's a line in the movie where Jack Nicholson, who's kind of playing like he's psychotic, so he doesn't go to prison, he goes to this ward. He says, none of you are crazier than the average psycho on the street. These are schizophrenics and you know, all crazy sorts of crazy people. I loved it because it showed a very accurate picture of what mental illness is actually like, and these are people, and you can work with them. But you have to do that work, and I don't think I think it's a lot, but I think people can do it, and the benefit you get. I mean, people with bipolar are on average like 10. I think it's something like 10 IQ points smarter than your average person.
Really?
They're smarter. They're more creative. They have a ton of energy. My grandfather was a doctor from Harvard, and he had bipolar. Wow.
What kind of doctor?
General surgeon.
Oh, he's a surgeon doctor.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a lot of and you just see things differently. Those are important people. I think that evolutionarily people with mental illnesses were like shamans in tribes, and that because they saw things from such a unique way. And if you're like me, like if you can get medications and you can work with people, you can do it. But it's why I have this podcast, is to get the message out to people, to know bipolar and mental illness, they're not these scary boogeyman's. You know, I'll do whatever. But I know, I think it's a good stop point, man. This was so much fucking fun. Thanks for doing this. We'll have to come. Awesome. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, I'm down.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much. See ya.
Absolutely.